What's up, everybody? It is Sunday night and we're at Bat City, so it must be time to wind down your weekend. I'm Small Press Shann and I'm here to talk to you about all of the comics that came out this week and all of the comics that came out last week. Just buckle up and get ready because we are going to be here for a while. I think I read like 72 books. It's going to be an amazing, fun time for everyone. But before we jump into that, we're going to talk about what we're using to wind down our weekend. This is called Talma, and it is a Tempranillo, which is a Spanish wine. It's all the grapes are grown in Spain, and this particular one says it is 100% Tempranillo grapes, and it blends perfectly with any type of food. So curious to see what that means, because usually they're kind of peppery or spicy and they have certain things that they blend with, but we're going to see what this particular Tempranillo is all about. I like it. There's not like crazy flavors to it. It's kind of like, I guess the reason it pairs with everything is because it's kind of just right in the middle. Like it's not too... It's almost cab savvy in that it's not very peppery. Matt, you're back there. What do you think?
It's just the tannins. It just tastes like grape skins.
It does just taste like grape skins. Yeah, I think that's what they mean by 100% Tempranillo grapes, because it doesn't really feel like there's anything else in it.
It's good though.
Yeah. I like it because it's not too sweet. It kind of really does taste like grape juice. If you made a non-sugary Welch's grape juice and it had alcohol in it, I think that is what it would taste like. Is this wine. So again, it's called Talma. It's a Tempranillo, which really just refers to the region in Spain where the grapes are grown. And like I said, while they're usually kind of peppery, this one just kind of tastes a lot like grape juice, which is really good. Almost like a sacramental wine, like the kind you'd get in communion. Almost kind of tastes like that, but again, without the sugar. So we're going to be drinking this tonight. You'll see it throughout the show. If you're drinking something exciting while you wind down your weekend along with us, let us know, because I love to hear what everybody else is drinking. I'm going to slide this over here. My arms are not long, so we'll see how far I can get. I'm going to pull up the comments really fast so I can see what you all are doing at home and how you're tuning in. I'm going to share this comic time. Yes. Okay. So if you're watching at home, let me know that you're here. That's for all of you live on Facebook. If you're watching this later in the week on YouTube, welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get notifications for every time we post up a new video, which is every Sunday around 9-ish on Facebook. And then for those of you watching on YouTube later on in the week, we usually put them up on Mondays or Tuesdays so that you can see all the comics that we loved the week before and let you know. Thank you, Nicholas. Nicholas says we are streaming live at Mysterium Escape Rooms in Sarasota, which I brought this thingy that you can't see that I'm grabbing. Yay! Okay. I brought this. This is the Mysterium Escape Room flyer that they just dropped off today, or last week. Oh my gosh, all the days have blended together. But this is, like he says, this is Sarasota downtown across from the Hollywood Theater. They've got some really cool escape rooms and you have to go check them out. Nick, if you want to drop like a website or any of the links or anything that people need to know so they can find all the information in the comments, that would be awesome. They do birthday parties, they do corporate events, so if you need to host a Christmas party, maybe you should hit them up. I'm going to flip this around if that's okay with you, Matt, because I've got all the different rooms on the back. So if you're looking for like what kind of rooms they have, here are the different options. We went in there a couple weeks ago. It is super dope. You guys are definitely going to check it out. If you're in the Bradenton, Sarasota area at all, and you haven't been to Mysterium, you should definitely go try an escape room because it's going to be awesome. So thanks for watching and for tuning in, Nick. And hi, Ram. How's it going? Oh, yes. And don't forget, if you take your Bat City receipt over to Mysterium Monday through Thursday, they'll give you 20% off your escape room experience. And if you go and check out Mysterium and bring us your receipt showing you went there, you're going to save 10% off your purchase at Bat City any day of the week. So save those receipts and make sure you check it out. Yes, we'll talk about it again at the end. Don't worry. And yeah, Nick just dropped that link. So if you're looking for more information on Mysterium, check out that link so you can see what other stuff they have going on. Like I said, we have a lot of comics, but we have a lot of really cool stuff coming up over the next couple of weeks. So I want to tell you about all of those before we jump in, just in case you don't get to hang out the whole time. We have, I should have put this closer to me. My arms are so short. We have a really cool thing coming up this weekend. Saturday, December 11th, we are going to have, it's December 10th. I keep saying December 11th. Saturday, December 10th, we have a awesome signing. We've got Jonathan Hedrick and Francesca Fantini coming. These are two amazing Scout creators. Jonathan is the writer of The Recount. He also did Space Cadet, which is a Scoot title, and he did Caffeinated Hearts and Hyper Aware, which are both Source Point books, I believe. And then Francesca did The Art on Stake, which is a really awesome Black Caravan book. If you watch the show, you know that we're huge fans of Black Caravan's horror, which is the horror imprint of Scout. This is a really cool one for fans of vampires and Buffy and anything like that. You're going to really enjoy Stake, and Francesca's art's super cool. They will be here from 12 to 5 this upcoming Saturday, December 10th. They'll be signing. They'll have some of their special variants included with them. They'll have some of their other art and other titles. So come check it out, support them. And we'll also have some other awesome artists and creators and fans and friends of the Bat Fam here this weekend as well. So check out the event page to see more information on all of that. And then on Sunday, December 18th, we are going to have Austin Janowski out here for a signing for Stanley the Snowman. This is a book that we talked about a couple weeks ago on the live stream and how much we love it and how adorable it was. Austin's going to come out and actually sign copies of Stanley the Snowman, and we'll be doing some snowman crafts in the Bat Cave, aka the classroom, all day that day. And he will be here from 1 to 5 on December 18th, which is a Sunday. So bring those kiddos and get some cute Stanley the Snowman experiences going on, because it's going to be great. And also you should read this. Issue 1 is kind of like your teaser. You get the first bit of the story, and then it goes into a non-stop graphic novel, and we will have both options available. So lots of fun events. We also have tons of stuff going on all the time just at Bat City. As usual, the third Saturday of the month is our workshop days. So those are going to be coming up on December 17th. And then on Thursday, December 15th at 7 p.m., we have our Geek Girls Night. So if you are in the area and you want to hang out with other nerdy ladies and talk about cool nerd stuff, we will have that December 15th at 7 p.m. And then we've got Sunday craft days going on all month long. So every Sunday except for Christmas, you're going to have the option to come in and make some really cool holiday-themed crafts. Today we made a reindeer puppet. Next week, we'll be making something else exciting. And then, of course, December 18th, we're going to be making snowmen in honor of our Stanley the Snowman signing. So don't miss out on these events. You can always find them on our Facebook page for more information about what's going on at them and exact times and things like that. Or you can check out, in the store. We'll have little signs and stuff for everything coming up. So there's a ton of things happening at Bat City this month, but like I said, there's a ton of books that we want to talk about. This is my Rudolph puppet. It was just in my pile. I just needed to show off how cute he is. You don't really need to marvel at my Rudolph, but I love him. So we've got some books. I'm going to dive in now because otherwise we'll never end. And we're going to talk about these comics. So up first, we have issue 3 of Creepshow, and this is from Image. It's on the Skybound imprint, and what's really cool about this is an all Frank Avila issue. We've got Francisco Francavilla on the story and the art, but we also have the addition of El Marlo Francavilla on the story as well. So super duper cool. I'm a sucker for anything Francavilla does in art, and whenever it is whenever there's horror involved, of course, Francavilla is just going to do a great job. And so our first story is the Francavilla story, and it's all about a barber in town who has a special friend, and while he is cutting everybody's hair and listening to their stories, he's kind of also helping out his little special friend with all of the horror that he is causing in the community. And as people begin to go missing and horrible things keep happening, we find out that this barber may be more and more connected to it than you could even imagine. The second story is actually done. Does it actually have? Okay, I think it's going to get it's Jorge Corona on art, who I love, usually works with Scotty Young, as well as Jean Francis Bellew on color, who is usually, but we have Ariella Christiana on this story, and it is the story about a girl who is an influencer and her friends going to the pyramids, the Mayan pyramids, and she's warned consistently not to do 1,000 different things that are considered disrespectful, and of course she's doing all of them, and she ends up having her own experience. I'm like, I want to show you that because it looks so cool, but I also don't want to ruin what happens. She ends up going into the temple in her swimsuit, and they have some which is against all of the rules, and she starts to hear voices, and she starts to be haunted by things, and she finds out that, you know, maybe being the kind of person that she is and being cruel and mean to other people isn't going to get her where she wants to go, no matter how many times she posts about it on Instagram. So this is Creepshow. What's great about it, you always get 2 stories, just like if you were watching a Creepshow episode or something of that nature. You're going to get two different stories within it. It's always fun. It's always dark and creepy, and it's always a book that sells out. So move quickly if you're interested in a Creepshow. Up next from Oni Press, we have issue 3 of Action Journalism with Kate Kelly. This is one that we've been really loving here in the store. This is pitched as what if Lois Lane was actually just kind of like her own superhero, which in my opinion she already is. But we talk about action journalism all the time is what the news kind of refers to itself as, but they say that from behind their desk, and they're not actually like out chasing down the bad guys themselves. And Kate Kelly is the journalist who is actually chasing down the bad guys. And in this particular story, Kate is going to receive an award, and another journalist, who is this white male journalist who thinks that he is the greatest journalist ever, thinks Kate makes up all of her stories and that she's not actually a good journalist and that she shouldn't be winning an award, and he's the only person who should be getting awards because he's better than everybody else. And in the process of saying all of this, him and Kate get sucked into a fictional world where they are both told by 2 different ogre-type goblins that they are the chosen one. And Kate is, of course, like, that's stupid. Nobody would believe that. Anybody who actually knows how to seek out the truth in something would know that you're full of it. And, of course, he falls for it. And Kate ends up having to fight to save them from a dragon who feeds on stories. And so Kate has to figure out how to give this dragon what it needs while also saving the day, which is such a cool action journalist thing to do because she's all about storytelling, but you gotta fight and save it from a dragon. If you haven't read this, honestly, this is one of the most fun books. It's an anthology of different Kate Kelly stories, so if you're not going in order, it doesn't really matter, but you're gonna have fun with every single issue. From Cullen Bunn and Andrea Moody at Dark Horse Comics, we have issue 4 of Parasomnia up next. This is a great book for people who are fans of the Dr. Sleep story from Stephen King because it's got a very similar vibe. This is volume 2. This is The Dreaming God. It's volume 2 of the Parasomnia story. And it is all about a little boy has been kidnapped. And in volume 1, his dad is hunting for him by going into the dream world. And he goes there so much that he loses his job and he loses his wife and he loses respect from everybody. And he kind of just ends up as a homeless man sleeping on the street because all he wants to do is sleep until he finds his son. In volume 2, he's still on the quest, but there are other players who have joined the story, including a very familiar looking woman who is helping him along the way as they try to hunt down the faceless queen. In this issue, we finally get some information, but the person who gets the information isn't able to convey it to us yet. So while we're been going on for 8 issues trying to find the son, the first lead that we've ever had kind of just keeps slipping out of our hands every time. Really, you're 100% in this story for the Andrea Moody art. It's so good, and it drags you in. And he does this really cool thing where he can build both a dream world and a reality world that blend together so perfectly, and yet twist your mind on every page. So if you haven't started it, Trades of Volume 1 do exist. I highly recommend you jump in if you like Andrea's art and all the things that he does. From R.L. Stine, we've got Stuff of Nightmares #3 with Boom Studios. This is R.L. Stine giving all of the kids who grew up on Goosebumps and Fear Street an adult story that's made just for them. Honestly and truthfully, this is just the next progression of those stories because it is a darker version of a Goosebumps kind of tale. This particular story follows two brothers who have... I'm like, that's so gross. Two brothers who have been trying to create a Frankenstein-style creature. They've been working really hard together, and all of their creatures have just become monstrosities. They've built hundreds of them. Everything goes bad. And in the last issue, we saw the brothers get in a fight, and things didn't go so well. And now one of the brothers thinks he has finally created the perfect companion and the perfect pieces he needs to finish up the Frankenstein-esque monster. And as we know, in any Frankenstein story, that person is always the one that is actually the most monstrous of them all. It's really beautiful. I love the colors on this book. I love the art. I love how it just kind of feels like R.L. Stine is returning to form with that. And I'm a huge sucker for anything Frankenstein, and this is following that tale so well. And the ending of this issue, I was like, I cannot wait for issue 4. I was like, maybe since this was this a last week book? Like, am I 1 week closer to the next issue of Stuff of Nightmares? I really, really hope so, because it's so good. Speaking of good, that wine is delicious. All right, up next from Source. Actually, before we do that, I'm just going to tell you that there's also a title called Becoming Frankenstein. It's on issue 4 of 6, and this is from 10 Ton Press. And this is actually going from Victor being a professor at the college to Victor becoming the man who makes the creature. And all of the networking he does, all of the people he works with, all of the terrible things he does. But I love this book because, A, the art looks like classic, like EC horror kind of books. And it's on newsprint. This paper is the classic, like, thin newspaper. It even has the newspaper smell. I can smell it from here, and I just kind of want to snuggle the book a little bit because it makes me so happy. Like, I could sit here and smell this book for the next 3 hours while y'all talk amongst yourselves about comics, but I don't think that's what you came for. It is all of your politics behind the scene. It is all of your collecting the bodies. It's all of, like, what would make somebody like Victor go from a fine, upstanding citizen to a terrible human being, and just kind of how the drive for perfection, but also the drive for notoriety can push us beyond where we want to be. And if you have not read this and you're a Frankenstein fan, this is a great companion to the actual Frankenstein story. And seriously, you should just get a copy and smell it. Now my nose is like itchy, and I'm like, it's because it wants to smell the book. From Source Point Press, we have issue 3 of Heaven's Rejects. This is what if Charlie's angels were actually angels who got kicked out of heaven because they act like Charlie's angels. Like, one of them is kind of sex obsessed, and one of them is violence obsessed, and one of them is like, I just want to do my job, but I'm kind of profane nonetheless. And in this story, the 3 angels have been tasked to work with actually a demon. They have kind of like need money to survive, and their organization isn't doing well. So they end up working for a company of demons, and their demon overlord hires them to go to a summer camp, which they're like, duh, all summer camps are filled with demons. And they have to go to the summer camp, and what's cool about it is they finally have to learn to protect innocent people, because the whole time they've always just been like, oh, what if we just destroy everybody, and then whoever's the bad guy is the bad guy, and whoever's the good guy is the good guy, but at least we're like, it's not our problem. But they end up fighting some major demons, and they get some help from some crazy creatures and some of the kids along the way. This is the most pun-tastic, bad joke action movie kind of story. But if you enjoy like those classic, like the Charlie's Angels movies, even with like the Drew Barrymore and the what is her name? Cameron Diaz, thank you. Lucy Liu. If you enjoy that, like this takes that up like 10,000 times with the cheesiness of the jokes. But it's still that kind of fun. And honestly, this was my favorite of the issues so far. I always say issue 3 is your turning point, and I definitely feel like this week we saw that a lot in books. From Bad Kids Press. Oh, these covers are always so nice. Such high quality paper. This is Stealing Oz, issue 3 of 4. I'm very sad to report that there's only going to be 4 issues. I really feel like this book should just go on forever because I love it so much. But this is, what if Dorothy and the Wicked Witch had merged together, and Dorothy kind of got some evilness in her and recruited the Lion and the Scarecrow to help her rob places in our world. And in this reality, and the Wheeler, she actually also has a Wheeler on her team. So this goes into major, like, deep cut Ozian kind of folklore. So if you are a fan of The Wizard of Oz, you're going to find so many things in this book that are just like, oh my god, I cannot believe they did that. Like, I'm constantly yelling at the book, like, no way, no, they didn't. Including the fact that some of the bad guys, or some of the cops that are chasing her and her team of bad guys, I should say, down, are actually TikTok and the Tin Man working together. So there's a lot of Return to Oz goodness. Even if you didn't actually read the whole Oz book series, but you just saw Return to Oz, you'll see a lot of the characters that you know from there. And they just decided that they need to call in the big guns this week for the last issue. And if you're an Oz fan, you can probably guess where that's going, but I'm not going to spoil it either way because I screamed with excitement at the end. So read Stealing Oz if you're an Oz fan, because you're going to love it. From Dark Horse, we have issue 3 of the Roadie. This is Tim Seeley's newest creation. And this is the story of a man who is just that. He's a roadie for a heavy metal singer who calls himself Massacre. And it's like Massacre, always written on everything, but it's Massacre. And this man, who is this roadie, I have to be careful, there's some like crazy stuff in here. One day, along the road, had sex with a demon, and she got pregnant, and she had a kid, and she never told him about it. Well, now the pits of hell have opened up, and they're all coming after his kid, and he's the only one that can save his child. So he finally met his kid for the very first time, and it's in this place where he has to exorcise demons and fight them, because he happens to be the 7th son of a 7th son, which means he has the power to exorcise demons and fight evil. And so now they are on this mission together to save themselves and possibly the world before it's too late. And it's really funny because he does work in metal and he's played rock music himself his whole life, and his daughter is like super into rap. So you just get this classic like parent child, like, I hate your music, and it's like, well, I hate your music, and it's like, well, you should pick better music, and you get all these cute little fights for them, but they just met, so it's nice to see them building this relationship, only to know that, like, outside their door, demons are literally chasing them down. Cute family dynamic in the middle of, like, a horrific situation. If you like Tim Seeley, you're gonna like this. If you are into all those Opus comics that are coming out with all the metal bands, you kind of get a little bit of that blended into this, just fictionally. Kind of like Rock Stars almost, if you read that incredible book with art by Megan Hutchinson. You get a little bit of that, but in a 4-part series, so it's just going to be like a mini series of this one particular family. Up next, from Charles Soule and Ryan Brown on Image Comics, we have issue 6 of 8 of 8 Billion Genies. I can't believe how fast this seems to be going, and yet how slowly. The issues seem to take forever to come out. I know it's monthly, but it just seems like there's so long in between them because the time frame jumps so much in between each issue that I'm like, oh my gosh, like, have I been reading this for 18 years? But if you don't know about 8 billion genies, basically every human on the planet was given a genie, and each genie would give each of them one wish. And of course, immediately, most people on the planet wish for something stupid, or the destruction of another human, or the destruction of themselves. And we have been following the people who happen to be inside of a bar, at the time of the genie's wish, and the barkeeper who made a wish to keep them all safe, that nothing could affect them. Well, after the first issue, it kind of went from 8 hours to 8 days to 8 weeks to 8 months. And now we are doing the first 8 years, and we're seeing where all of these people are ending up. And this particular issue follows a band that was in the bar at the time as they try to come to terms with where they're going to end up. They're starting to seek out havens that have been created, and we get to see that, as we already understood, a lot of humans were terrible over the course of time, but now we're starting to see that even in these safe havens and great places that have been created, that a lot of the havens aren't actually what they seem. And even the people who made wishes for good are starting to kind of fall apart. So it's kind of like no matter what we do as humans, we'll eventually get to the point where we all make a bad decision either way. Charles Soule's always really good at those kind of messages. We've got 2 issues left, and I have no idea where this is going, but we went from all 8 billion people on the earth, and now within the first 8 years of genies being in existence, we only have 32 million people left. So who knows how much longer those people will last. Right. Oh my gosh. We're going to get dark for a second. Up next from AWA Upshot, we have issue 4 of 5 of Sacrament. And this is Peter Milligan's newest book, which means it's got a lot of heavy stuff going on in it, and not surprising with a title like Sacrament. This is actually the story of a priest who, it's in the year 2999, and we've all moved to space. Every single human no longer lives on Earth. They all live in space. And the tagline is that we left Earth, but we didn't leave its demons. And religion is kind of outlawed in this world, and there's one man who's still a priest, and he's been working to kind of do religious ordinances and things behind people's backs. And he is asked to come in to do an exorcism, except the thing is that he doesn't actually really believe in any of it anymore. So the idea of doing this exorcism is hard for him because he doesn't think that he believes enough to actually stop it, but his assistant does. And things get really dark. He kind of, over the course of time, has led his assistant astray. He's kind of stuck in this. And, of course, we find out that while the government is the very people that hired him, the government might actually not want him to succeed. And as he's doing his investigation and he's finding out all of these ways that he can help and he can make things better, we're finding out from the other end of things that it doesn't kind of matter what he does, whether he saves the day or not. And I don't know that he will either way. So this issue has not led us in any closer way of things actually getting better, and we only have 1 issue left to wrap it up. So I'm really curious to see where this is going to go, but there is definitely a great thing in here where they're kind of like, if we let him succeed, then everybody's going to turn back to religion, and then we won't be able to control them in the same way that we do. And they're like, isn't that how you used to control them on Earth? And it just becomes this like big conversation. It's super cool. And yet he's the whole time like, I don't know what I believe in. And so it's nice to see like everybody kind of conflicted on what they believe and where they fall. Makes for really great character development and a great story. From Scout Comics, we have issue 3 of Forever Forward. This is the story of a man who invents time travel. Except he never actually finishes inventing time travel. He only invents it halfway, so he figures out how you can jump forward, but he doesn't figure out all of the details of it before he gets all of his friends stuck in the future, and they come into the future and there's something terrible happening, and the first thing they see is a sign that says the only way back is forward. And so and it's in his handwriting, and so he believes that the only way back is forward, and he has to take all of his friends with him along the way. And every time they land in a different year, things get worse. And it seems like it's his fault everywhere they go, that things are getting worse and worse and worse. And in this particular issue, he's finally starting to see maybe he's not so great. And maybe it's his fault that robots have created a fascist robot regime and that the future is terrible. But he still only has one option. And everywhere they go, his friends keep saying, maybe we just stay here. And he's like, well, we know that we don't, because I have to go back and we have to keep going forward. And so there is no solution in sight yet, and I kind of love that every time they just keep jumping and jumping and jumping and nothing good is happening, and yet he's going through all these realizations, and he's still on this one belief that it's him that goes back, but we have no proof other than him thinking something's written in his handwriting, so I really can't wait to see where this actually ends up. I'm going to take another drink of this. We're drinking Talma, which is a Tempranillo, and it's really good. And you were telling me, Matt, there's something about the point system on it. Like, what is it about the points? It's on the bottom. It's 90 points from...
It says on there what his name is.
James Suckling. Who is that? Do you know?
A
wine reviewer. And it's out of 100? Not bad. And you said this one was only like $8, and it's
$9.
$9?
Total wine.
Total wine. Man, it's not bad for something that's like a cheaper end wine, but to still have the 90% out of 100 like score. I'm digging it.
You'll find it in the Spain aisle.
The Spain aisle?
Yes, not in the cabs, not in the Bordeaux's, in the Spain aisle.
Is that where all the Tempranillos are? Mm-hmm. Good to know. That's my favorite, I think, kind of wine. If you have a favorite kind of wine, you should totally drop it in the comments. Oh my gosh, now I'm just talking about comics. You should drop it in the comments so that we can check out something that you like. Whether it's the type of wine or a brand of wine, totally let us know. Up next from Ablaze Comics, we have The Boogeyman #3. This story has been so interesting. This is honestly and truthfully, to me, this is like all the dark parts of a Miyazaki film. How there's always like the really, really, really dark undertone. If you just kind of put all those demons forward from a Miyazaki film, it's just how this kind of feels. This is the story of a little boy who is attacked by his nightmares. And all of these other nightmares start coming after him. They kill his parents and everything on like the very first page of the first issue. And he is saved by a boogeyman, an elder boogeyman, who is known as Father Time, and he is still around, and all the other elders are supposed to believe are dead, and they've been killed by these nightmares and these little sisters who work for these nightmares. And now they're all coming after this kid, and they're also coming after this father, like this father of nightmares, essentially. And they're on their own journey, the kid and the boogeyman. They're on their own journey to get this kid to safety. We still don't really know why they're coming after the kid. We don't know if this boogeyman is going to end up being a good thing or a bad thing for him. But it's such a like heartfelt story between like this kid like coming to terms with his own nightmare of like losing his parents and being on the run and all this stuff chasing him. But it's also, like I said, it's kind of just like the darkness of a Miyazaki film. And I'm like, is there gonna be a good like moral happy wrap up at the end, or is it gonna be just the darkness overtakes us? Who knows? We're 3 issues in, and the story just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And the monsters keep getting darker and darker. So we'll see how this plays out. From Image Comics, we have issue 3 of Flawed. This has been a fantastic story. I love this character. This is all about a woman who is a therapist, and she uses her therapy sessions to kind of find out about things that are happening in her community and people who need help. And then she goes after the people that are attacking her clients. And kind of Daredevil-esque, but in this particular story that we've been following, she has gone after a man known as the Skinwalker, who we know has been chasing down children and destroying them, possibly eating them, doing all kinds of crazy things to them. And she can't handle it that he's not being caught, so she's gone after him herself. And she's kind of ended up in more and more trouble in each issue. And as her team of people uncover more, and I'm going to show you this grossness of this scene, but as her team of people uncover more and more, she gets more and more invested into it and more injured. And yet she kind of doesn't get any closer to solving her case. And it has been really good. This is honestly like one of those books that I recommend you pick up, especially if you are a fan of something like Daredevil. I think you should definitely be reading Flawed. Daredevil, Kick-Ass, any of those like vigilantes that take kind of matters into their own hands in their community, but also have that secret identity of helping people in real life, like Daredevil. She's a great character. I love seeing her connection to her family. I love the way she works with her assistant. And now she's kind of like met up with some other people, and we're just getting more and more of her community, and it's been really good. So grab this. It's on issue 3. Check out issues 1 and 2 if you missed it. Issue 3 of Eratic, recharged from AWA Upshot. This is volume 2 of Eratic, and Eratic is a part of the Resistance universe. So if you don't know, AWA launched with this, their publishing company, with this big idea of a virus that destroyed the world, and all the people who got it, like 200,000 people got the virus and didn't die, and a bunch of them got superpowers, and they are called Reborns. And we've seen a lot of books come out of this, like Moths and the Joneses, and of course, Eratic, and even Bite Size, I believe. But in volume 1 of Eratic, we learn that he is a young boy who got superpowers, and actually, when he got the virus, and in the middle of having the virus, his dad got up and left him alone at his apartment and never came back. And so the kid actually thought that he killed his dad this whole time, and he woke up one day and he had superpowers, and he's felt different and strange, and his mom and his brother moved him to a new city. And the thing about his powers are they are, in fact, erratic. He has them for about 15 minutes a day, and then they have to recharge. And he is learning now that they don't necessarily all have to be used at one time. He can kind of charge them in bits and pieces. But in volume 2, he has seen the return of the mysteriously vanishing father. And he has also met a new character who has been introduced, who says she is the princess of kind of like an Amazonia kind of thing. She comes in and she changes everything. And she's been training him on how to battle against all of this darkness that is supposedly coming for all of them. And it has made a lot of things more difficult in his day-to-day life, because suddenly he has a teenage Amazon warrior princess following him around, which his girlfriend doesn't like. Things get crazy for him, both in his superhero life and his regular life, and every page of this adventure just keeps getting crazier. If you enjoyed the Sideways story that came out from DC a couple years ago, you would actually really like this. This is that teen superhero who is very much like in the teen world. It's kind of like very Gen Z in the conversations. Like, his girlfriend is a social media influencer, and her way of getting back at him in this is she actually makes a video about Eratic and is like, oh, I guess we're all gonna figure out who Eratic is. It's also kind of Invincible for kids. Like, if you have kids who thought like the concept of Invincible sounded cool, but they're not ready for the violence yet, and this is a really good one for kids, because you do kind of have a lot of the same characters, but it stays in that teen and under mentality instead of going into the adulthood that Invincible definitely does. From Image, we have issue 4 of the Dead Lucky. Dead Lucky is a part of the Massive universe, which we just had confirmation of recently, and that is the Radiant Black world. So if you read Radiant Black, great. If you didn't, you can still read Dead Lucky. Dead Lucky came out on its own. It wasn't really connected, but we are definitely seeing that they are going to connect it, as Kyle Higgins has purposefully included that at the back of his books. And the costuming design kind of looks a lot like, looks exactly like it. But the Dead Lucky is about a woman who was a squadron leader in the military in Afghanistan, and everybody in her squad died but her. And she returned back with a lot of PTSD and the ability to talk to her squad as Ghost. And some superpowers. She gets back to her city, and she finds out that it's been taken over both by gangs, but also by a government organization called Morrow, who is like, we're going to run this into the ground. We're going to use it the way we want to. We're going to round up people, whether they've done anything wrong or not. And so she decides she needs to use her skills as an ex-military person, but also as somebody with these superpowers, to fight back against Morrow and against the gangs and clean up her streets of her community. And, you know, she makes a lot of bad choices and she makes a lot of good choices, and we're starting to see that kind of play into it. What I love about the Radiant Black universe is all humans who are broken in some, like, feel broken in some way, feel disconnected from society in some way, emotionally, like mentally, they just feel like they can't connect, and they feel like they've got nothing left to offer the world when they get their superpowers. And their superpowers isn't what makes them super. Our superpowers are always just an add-on, and they have to learn to overcome whatever that feeling is inside of them that's tearing them apart before they can even actively use those powers. And it's really, really great. And this one, like I said, she's very much got PTSD. She feels very strongly about the loss of her team. She actually has a quote in here where she says, like, the ones who died are the lucky ones, because the ones who come back never let go of the ones that did die, and yet the ones who died got to let go. And she can't handle it, and it's really interesting to see how that plays into what she's doing for her community. What I also like about it is at the back of every single issue of the Dead Lucky, it does give resources for anybody who has experienced PTSD and for veteran resources, which I think is really, really cool of them. So check out Dead Lucky. This is issue 4, like I said, from Image. And if you get ready and you want to, you should definitely dive into the Supermassive universe. You can start at Radiant Black, you can start at Rogue Sun, or you can start with Dead Lucky, and you can go from there. Up next, from Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, we have issue 3 of Vanish, which is on Image's KLC Press, which is Kids Love Chains, which is Ryan and Donny's imprint. This is honestly and truthfully, what if Harry Potter was a 1990s comics? What if Harry Potter was in the Spawn universe? Is honestly and truthfully what this book is. We have a character named Oliver who was named to be the chosen one when he was young, and he went to school for kids with magical powers, and he got out of it and saved the world, and now it's kind of like, what do I do now? And all of the villains that he's fought in his life or who have escaped him have now come back and are masquerading as superheroes to get away with dangerous things. And he realizes that the only person who can see through their crap and who can stop them is him. And so now, as a drugged out, drunken, washed up superhero, he is having to fight all of these people and kind of figure out where his place is going to be. And it's not really going so well for him. Kind of seems like he might be falling into the same dark places that he's supposed to be stopping them from doing. But the heroes that Ryan and Donny are coming up with, or that are actually the villains, have some really cool powers. One of them, who kind of, the guy that looked kind of Daredevil-y, is called, Silkworm, and he has the power to manipulate like nano threads that you can't even see. And so he's like, he could cut your head off before you ever even knew he was like controlling something. So it's super cool. They're coming up with some really great ideas for some new style of heroes, but it's all very 90s. I felt like this was a great way to add into the 90s nostalgia that's going on. We also, speaking of nostalgia, we have What's the Furthest Place from Here from Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg. This is issue 8, finally back. I feel like this was one of the longest, like, breaks that we've taken in a while in comics, but it probably was normal, and I'm just waiting too hard for this comic to come back. But this is one of my creative teams I love. I love Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg working together, and they... in this book, this is basically like The Warriors, the 80s movie, where we're in a post-apocalyptic world, and all of the people who are adults are gone. And once you hit your 18th birthday, you're kind of put out to pasture, quite literally, in some of the situations. And all of the kids have been separated into different factions, different gangs, and they all have their own theme. And this particular issue follows a young boy who was sent to live with the pigs, the piggies, which is not his original house. He kind of just keeps pushing around in different parts of it throughout the story. He kind of keeps getting traded between the different gangs, and he runs away because he doesn't like the abuse that they're giving him, and another gang offers to take him in. And the piggies don't like that, and there is a war, and there is a council meeting, and then there is more battles and more crazy things. This has been a really, like, it's just one of those stories where every issue you pick it up, and you're like, oh, what was going on last time? And you're like, oh my gosh, oh yeah, it was this. And then you, like, fall into it, and you get these oversized issues of great story, and you're just like, I just want to keep going. Like, it would be one of those that once it comes out in trade that you're going to want to reread the whole collection all at one time because it's just been a great story. This is issue 8. Really cool thing. They did have like music that was coming out with them originally, but because of the vinyl shortage, a lot of that has been slowed or delayed, but it's been a really cool concept because the original gang that we started with lived in a record store, and they would all pick an album to define them, like when you join their gang, which was super cool. From Aftershock Comics, we have the 06 Protocol issue 2. I feel like I haven't said from Aftershock Comics in a hot minute, and they just released a statement that they have been experiencing a lot of the printing delays and shipping delays, so there are a lot of Aftershock comics that I know everybody's waiting on. They just issued a statement that those will be coming soon. Very excited. And so we did have a huge delay between issue 1 and issue 2 of the 06 Protocol. So glad to see this one back. This is the story of some people who were kind of drugged by the government and turned into super weapons, kind of super soldiery things, but meant for bad. And we follow a mom who finds out that she is one of them, and her daughter is in danger, and her husband has already been attacked, and she is trying to save her daughter before it's too late, and her daughter is at school, and so her daughter and her 2 friends end up getting sucked into this drama, and now they're all kind of on this mission to figure out who is after their mom, how can they cure her, what can they do, and why is this happening. And it's been really cool to see how this group has come together, especially because we did have such a big delay, and then in this one we got all those new characters, so it was like, oh, this is really cool because now we have all these new characters, and it feels like it brings you right back in. So I highly recommend, if you didn't get issue 1, or if you did, reread issue 1 before you read issue 2, because it has been so long. So I recommend that you don't try to like jump back in without having read issue 1 recently, because there was a lot of the stuff that I was like, oh, what happened? Oh yeah, this. And like, you spend a lot of time asking yourself the questions instead of paying attention. So go back and grab that issue 1 and reread it before you jump into issue 2, because there was a lot of exposition, as there often are in Aftershock books in issue 1. So if you don't read issue 1 again, you're going to be kind of lost at the beginning, but then you're going to meet new characters and you're going to get drawn back in. From Image Comics, we have issue 2 of Hitomi. This is one of those that had like those gorgeous like peach mocha covers on issue 1, so a lot of people picked it up for those covers, and if you didn't actually dive in and read the story, I recommend you go back and do it, because this is a story of a young girl who is known as the Wolf Slayer, and her entire family is slaughtered in front of her, and now she's on a vengeance quest. And we see that kind of story a lot in the samurai stories, and usually they're little boys who grow up to be these great samurai warriors. And what I love about this is the little girl, and she could be a great warrior, but she can't stop arguing with everybody, and she can't stop attacking people, and she can't just sit and listen and learn. And in this issue, she meets a warrior who is a fighter, and she tries to convince him to be her trainer and to leave his ways of fighting in the cage and come and train her and help her vindicate her family. And she has to learn some of the lessons of, you don't just attack everybody. There's some people in a bar making fun of them. And she's like, aren't you going to attack them because they're challenging our honor and they're just making fun of us? And he's like, no, the first lesson you have to learn is simple mathematics. There are way more of them than there are of us, and there's no sense in getting in that fight when we will take more losses than we'll win. And she's like, but we have to defend our honor. And he was like, no, that's not how you defend your honor. Sometimes defending your honor means walking away. And she gets in this ongoing battle with him of wits, and they start to work together. And who knows if she'll actually settle down and learn and pay attention to him, but it's going to be a great story of watching her grow and see if she still goes for vengeance or if she just actually learns that just fighting isn't always the answer. Really, really great story for if you are a fan of samurai stories at all. You're going to love that one. From Boom Studios, we have issue 2 of Eve, Children of the Moon. This is volume 2 of Eve. Volume 1 came out, I believe it was last year, and was actually really cool because it was written by an environmentalist who wanted to tell a story about his children getting the opportunity to save the world, like how we're doing all of the work now so that our children will have a world to live in. But what's cool about it is the story was about a young girl who was put in a cryogenic freeze here on Earth with nothing but her teddy bear that was programmed as an AI to help her when she got out. And in Volume 1, she does go on a mission to try to find the other kids and to save the world. But her teddy bear attacks her. And she ends up in a battle against her teddy bear. In Volume 2, she has kind of figured out some of that, and now she's working with people to kind of, again, still find all the other kids and bring them all together and rebuild the Earth. But we learn more about where the teddy bear's AI comes from and what it has done, and we meet Celine, a girl who has taken on protecting all of the children of the moon, as she calls them, and being kind of their goddess and their leader in a world where there's not anybody actually there for them. And Eve is learning a lot, not only about herself, but about what happened with her parents and what happened to the Earth while she was under, and that you can't, while she wants to just give everybody a second chance and a second opportunity, we're seeing her get for the first time people who tell her that not everybody deserves that chance and not everybody deserves that opportunity. And so we're getting that conflicting story of all these kids kind of trying to teach each other lessons while they're trying to figure out who's going to actually save the world and what they're saving it from and for. Really great. Go ahead. Oh, I can have a drink of my wine. Thank you. I was like, this is so nice. Was it Talma? Talma. Yeah. I'm in. This is a good wine. It does taste, again, I do think it tastes kind of like a non-sugary grapefruit juice, but it has that after kick. But it's not spicy. It's just an after kick of like grape.
It just tastes like grapes.
It just tastes like grapes. Like red grapes, like almost sour grapes, but in a good way. I like it. I'm in. Thanks, Talma, for being delicious. Okay. Up next from Whatnot Publishing, we've got Alpha Beta's issue 2. This is Kyle Starks, who did I Hate This Place and a bunch of, I believe, the Rick and Morty comics and things like that. he is doing a story with Whatnot now, and this is about 4 kids who love to play video games and are sucked into the video game that they love, and they can't get out of it because there's all these glitches and the world is coming to an end inside the game and they can't leave, and they're trying to figure out how to fix it. And they run into a man who was recruited by the government, which is the backstory that we get in this issue, recruited by the government to save video games, because the government actually uses them as a way to create energy for all of the things in the world. Everything, like in this particular game, we find out that they are powering NICU units at hospitals. So for all the premature babies, they're all of their life-saving devices are powered by people playing this video game. But now the video game is glitching, so they're like, if you don't help us fix this video game, then all the babies are gonna die. And they're like, okay. And they're like, no, but you have to help us save babies. And they're like, these kids are like, I mean, do we? And then they're like, we'll give you $1 million. And they're like, all right, we could do it for that. And so we've got these 4 completely crass kids who make jokes about poops and penises and things like that throughout the whole thing, kind of working together to help solve this, try to save this video game. They have to beat this hacker, and if they beat the hacker in this game, the hacker will just jump to another game, and so they may need to go to work with the government and help them out beating the rest of this. What's cool about this is that every issue has a video game homage variant, which has been really cool. I think there was like a Legend of Zelda one and a Super Mario one, so those have been really cool. But it's a really cool concept if you are a fan of video games, because you get a lot of video game jokes and like in stories. So I'm gonna say, I don't know where I want to put that. I love this book and I can't decide how I'm just gonna talk about it now. Whatever. From Dark Horse Comics, we have issue 2 of Dead Mall. This is one of those books that I put at the top of my list to read when issue 1 came out, because I love abandoned places. And also somebody else that feels the same way was like, oh, I don't know if I really like this book or not. And I was like, he's like, I'm not sure about the narration. And so I jumped into it thinking like, I don't know what's going on in this book, but I have to check it out. And issue 1 was entirely narrated, almost completely narration too, by the creature in the mall that is controlling the devastation of these children. It's an abandoned mall, and some teenagers break into it to get drunk and to have a party, and now they can't get out. And something is controlling the situation. It's putting them into their worst nightmares. It's putting them into their happiest memories. It's making them just want to stay in the mall like forever, because it feeds off of their existence in this mall. And we still have that narrator, and we still don't really know what it is, which is super cool. Like, is it a creature? Is it a spirit? Is it a ghoul? Is it just some maniacal human who is taking in all of this? We don't really know. But we do know that these teenagers are breaking apart, and I love that we get to see the psychological reasons and like methods that the creature is like pushing them to. You know, when you get these horror movies and these horror books, you always see the way the kids respond, and you see them thinking like, oh, maybe it's this. Maybe the monster is doing this to us, or they're migrating us this way, and you see the kids kind of trying to figure it out and telling us. But in this, we actually have the narration from that evil spirit that's like, I am doing this because if I do this, it'll destroy them in this way. And then you see them trying to figure it out, and you're like, ooh, they actually like aren't figuring it out. And so all those times when you're watching horror movies, like, that wasn't really what the bad guy was thinking. So I like it because you do get it from that perspective, but also like you're a bunch of teenagers stuck in an abandoned mall. Which is also really cool and creepy. So this is only issue 2. If you didn't grab issue 1, grab issue 1 and 2 and read it, because it is really well done, and I'm really in on that narration for sure. I think it's got one of the better narrating voices that I've read in a while. Up next from Red 5 Comics, which we always need more of. We have issue 2 of Dead Kingdom. This is a 5-part series that's kind of medieval zombies. Just to be honest, that's exactly what it is. It's not kind of. That's what it is. This follows a man who works as a peacekeeper within villages, and he kind of goes out and he helps them fight battles when they need to keep the peace in his area. And in issue 1, he was sent to go help them with a village nearby that has had a lot of people attacking and a lot of dangers going on, and he's got to go out there and help them with all that situation. And he finds out that the village is overrun by the dead. And he's like, I don't know what's going on. We have never seen this before. But it seems like people have a plan in place for how to deal with it all at the same time. It's super creepy the way they come through, and there's no communication, so they can't tell the next village. And so they send him back to his village to go warn them before it's too late. And when he gets back to his village, he on his way back, he gets attacked, and so he isn't able to make it before the zombies do. And so when he gets back to his village, there's not very many people left. And the love of his life is one of the people that he cannot find who's missing. And so his whole quest now is that he has to find the woman he loves and do whatever he can to stop these zombies along the way. I like it because one of the things that I loved when I studied Latin for about 6 years, and one of the things that I loved was when studying Roman culture, they talked about how the SPQR, the handbook for the Roman soldiers, actually had a guide in there for how to set up your camp in case the dead came back to life. And I always thought it was so cool that we all think that zombies are like this concept that like George Romero created, or like we've all only been talking about in like modern society. Like this is a horror movie concept. But the Roman soldiers were trained from day one on how to set up their camp in case zombies existed. And so I love seeing it when they put zombies back in these older time periods, because it's like, oh, well, these soldiers were actually trained on this. And some of the soldiers are like, oh, we're supposed to do this. And I'm like, yeah, you would know that because that was a training method that you guys had back in that time period. So I like to see that. But I also like to see it because there is no communication. And so instead of having to take that technology and like shut it down some way, you're already in a world that doesn't have technology. And it's like, how would you get there if you had to travel by horse or on foot? And would you be able to be faster than the zombies? So I love seeing that. If you're a fan of zombies, this is just another great addition to your world. From Boom Studios, we've got issue 2 of Damn Them All. It was a really cool story the way that they started out with issue 1, because it kind of felt, it was the story of a man who was killed, or who died, I guess we knew. And it starts with him training somebody on how to, exorcise demons and how to fight against demons and how to do all of these, be a demon detective essentially. And then we find out that the whole story has been told from the grave side, as this person has been killed, and it is actually his niece who he was training all that time. And so this picks up with her kind of dealing with the post-death stuff, and also finding out that all of the demons in the underworld have all been bound to these coins that are being floated around through different gang members around the city, through mobsters. And she's going to have to deal with all of that. But at the same time, a woman shows up and says, hey, I used to date your uncle and he was murdered. And she's like, I don't care. I don't want to deal with that. And so now she's got these multiple investigations that she's having to deal with. We've got all this demon stuff. I love it because we get the journal entries of the uncle. So you get all of his information about those demons. And then honestly, if you're a fan of Constantine, this is a female version of Constantine. She's crass. She's always drunk. She hates doing her job. She thinks demons are terrible, but she's also like completely stuck dealing with them. She knows magic. She wears the jacket. She's literally just a female Constantine. And it makes for a great story. So, and she's also like British with the like same accent and everything. So literally, if you want a female Constantine, like you're not getting enough of that from Sandman where they have Constantine's descendant, this is a great way to jump in and get even more. And it's a very deep story. Like it's one of those that has a ton of dialogue and a ton of like those articles where you get all the information. So this is like a heavy read book. You're gonna you're not going to just flip through pages of just action. You're going to be flipping through a lot of pages of story and kind of solving the investigation along with them. So this is really good. It's a great boom book. It is definitely for mature audiences only because it's a lot of drinking and smoking and things of that nature. I'm going to take another drink because it's so good. I'm drinking Talma. This, if you didn't hear that, it's a Tempranillo. It's a Spanish wine, and it's delicious. And I'm going to pour some more, even though I didn't finish this glass, so that I don't have to stop in 2 seconds to do it again. I never pour the wine during the show, so this is really exciting. I feel like I've leveled up to a new place because I got to pour my own wine. Sweet. It is delicious. I love it. If you are drinking, winding down your weekend, or just enjoying an awesome glass of water, let me know, because I love water. If you are drinking water, actually, please tell me what water you're drinking, because I only drink water outside of stuff like this, so it's my other favorite obsession of different kinds of water. And also, if you're enjoying any of the books we're talking about, let us know if you're reading them too. I love to hear what other people are reading, and I can't wait to see what your thoughts are on some of these books. So drop them in the comments if you're reading anything great and you want to share. We'd love to hear it. From Source Point Press, this is issue 2 of Postmasters, and I love the tagline of Rain nor sleet nor dark of night, because this is the story of a post-apocalyptic world where the USPS still exists and is delivering the mail to people, and it's kind of the only thing that they can still holds from like government style organizations. And we follow one particular postmaster who is doing his best to deliver a letter that showed up at their post office and said it needed to be taken to a place, and he's like, oh, well, I guess I have to take it there. So issue 1 and issue 2 have had him on this journey to take this letter to this particular spot, and in issue 1 he gets attacked by some of the mutants that live on the outside of the regular cities, which is why only the postmasters can go through there, and he is saved by a girl who he actually trained with in the academy. And she kind of reminds me of any character in Sucker Punch, honestly. Like, she's dressed like one. She kind of fights like the girls in Sucker Punch. And she's just really, really cool. But they end up going on the mission together. She figures she can help him because he's not doing so well. And they end up getting to the place where they think the letter needs to be delivered to, only to find out that it's overrun by the mutants and they might not make it in. And even if they do, they're not really sure that it is, in fact, the place that they need to be. This issue really leaves us on a cliffhanger of, is there going to be another issue? Or is there not? It kind of has like one of those "the end for now" question marks. And I really, really hope that it's not, because it gave us this massive change in this story. And, it set up all of this other stuff that's happening in the world, and then it just said the end for now, and I was like, no, it is definitely not the end for now. This is the end of the issue, and tomorrow you're going to bring me another issue that's going to tell me what happens next, because I'm completely invested in what's going on, and you just now told me how the world might be ending, and all of these people that have to fight for things, and what's going on, and we just had all this character development. So, no, Source Point and the creative team of Stan Yak, Garrett Gunn, and Christina Blanche, you are not the ending for now. I'm just going to tell everybody this is issue 2 of possibly 3 or 4, and we're just going to keep going with that belief because this book is so good and I need more. So if you didn't read issue 1 of Postmaster, grab it. They're these great prestige magazine size formats. If you didn't know, I was about to grab the next book, which would not have helped. So you get like this much more of it, because this is one of those books that needs that cinematic art experience that we talk about when we talk about prestige formats looking big. It kind of has, it's all black and white, but there's just so many great, amazing scenes in it. So pick it up if nothing more than just for like the massive art explosion that comes all over the book. It's so great. Up next from Sumerian, which you may know used to be Behemoth Comics, we have issue 2 of Sarah Lone. I mentioned a couple of the books earlier being a little oversized and getting more story. This is the most story that you are going to get from any book on the shelf right now. Not only is it oversized in how thick it is, but it is reading a novel. These books there's so much in it. It's so detailed. I'm just gonna I'm gonna try to find a page that, even this right here, it's very small font, heavy dialogue. And it takes place in the 1960s, and the story of a girl whose father was a fisherman, and she kind of wanted out, so she ran away to New Orleans. And while she was in New Orleans, she started working as a stripper, and she went by the name Sarah Lone, which is not her actual name. And she decides she needs out of that world, so she robs the mobsters who run the strip club for just enough money that they owed her, and then takes off and tries to go home because she finds out that her father has been found dead. Lots of things happen from there. We have the other fishermen her father works with. We've having to save the fishery. We've got possibly buried treasure out at sea. We've got an evil man who's trying to take over the community and steal all the businesses. We've got the whole idea of corruption with JFK and the government, and maybe the mobsters that she robbed are actually the same mobsters that helped JFK get elected. We've got CIA scandal. We've got KKK scandal. We've got all kinds of stuff in this book. Everything that could possibly happen in 1960s America, as well as a 1960s comic, it all exists in this book. I feel like I'm reading 4 different stories at any given time, and they're all well written. And there's a lot to all of them. You do get that backstory of the buried treasure and or the sunken treasure and where it came from. You get your CIA story. You get your mobster story. You get her saving the family fishery story. They're all in there. They're all good. If you're just looking for just a really detailed crime novel that has that crime noir 1960s kind of feel, this is going to be it. This is your slow-moving drama book full of all kinds of stuff. I feel like I read a novel or 2 every time I finish Sarah Lone. We're 2 issues in. Grab them both and take a week and just settle into them. Don't try to read them super fast because there's so much that you're going to miss. But they are definitely, look at how thick that is. That alone, could kind of show you. And then you see all those, detailed pages and everything. So if you're looking for a book for all you heavy readers who are I want to get into comics, but I need more than just, a couple pages and then some action, Sarah Lone, this is your book. Matt's smiling back there. Matt's yes, that is my book. I can't show you anything inside of this book. So I'm just going to hold this cover right here and tell you about this issue 2 of Lovesick. This is Red Room with a female protagonist. This is the story of Domino, who runs a Red Room torture thing. She kills a lot of incels off the internet. And that's really what it is. It's all incels who are just talking terrible things about her, and so she selects them and brings them in and kills them in her Red Room, and there are a bunch of them who are after her, and we're gonna see what happens. It's a very interesting story, but it's very, very graphic. It's not for the faint of heart. There are pages in here where I'm I'm just gonna flip. I have the very magical talent of reading sometimes and not looking at the art if I need to hurry, and so I can do that. There were times where I was maybe this is one of those pages where I don't need to look at how detailed that violence gets. Very violent, very sexual, but I have a feeling that the point of this is going to be really good at the end, so I don't want to stop reading it at the same time because I really want to see what happens. But if you are squeamish, do not read this book. That's all I have to say about that. Mystery Brothers, issue 2 of 4 from Red 5. This is, it's not labeled as a kid's book, but it kind of feels like a kid, like kind of in the same level as Eratic, kind of in that age, that tween to teen age range. This is the story of a young boy whose parents are separated. I'm not quite sure if they're divorced. And he is sent to go stay with his dad for the summer. And when he gets there, his dad tells him to meet his brother. Dad has not remarried. Dad has not had a kid with anybody, but he has another little boy that lives there, and he tells him it's his brother. And he also meets Maria, who is the dad's assistant / like maid for the house, who is a robot. An android, I guess you should say. And throughout the course of the first issue, something happens and the dad is killed and the boys end up on the run. And they are on the run from the android who is trying to attack them. And we learn in this issue that there's something special about the brother, so to speak. And the two boys are on the run and they are trying to figure out what makes them special and who is chasing them, which I love. That the evil corporation the dad worked for was run by Mr. Profit, and it is called Profit Corporation, and his name is just spelled Proffit. But I love that it's like, hey, we're going to kill these kids just because we need to ensure that we keep our androids safe and we get our money because that's all we care about. And I love it. It's great. It really feels like one of those like tween teen kid adventures of these kids taking down the evil adults. Up next from Boom Studios, we have issue 2 of The Approach. This is kind of your classic horror story in that we start out with a snowstorm and we follow a firefighter who has to go to work at the airport because there's a massive blizzard coming in, and the only thing that can help keep everybody safe is having them on site. And in the course of them, the evening, a plane lands. The air traffic controller has nothing on his radar, and suddenly a plane lands, and it's a plane that has been missing for, we'll just say 50 years. I don't remember how many years it is. It's been missing for a long time, and they run out to get it, and there is a pilot in the plane, and suddenly there is not a pilot who is injured in their under department, but there is some kind of creature who is now chasing them all through this. I don't want to show you. Chasing them all through this airport terminal. So you've got a lot of people trapped in an airport terminal. You've got a snowstorm that nobody can leave, and you've got a dark creature wandering about. Wandering about the airport, keeping everybody trapped in there, and death and destruction are all that remains. Also from Boom Studios, you've got issue 2 of Briar. This is Christopher Cantwell's new story, and it is a Sleeping Beauty retelling. We have the story of Briar Rose. She is the same thing we know from Sleeping Beauty. She gets the sleeping curse put on her, and the only thing that will happen is she'll sleep for 100 years unless True Love's kiss awakens her. And in issue 1, the prince shows up and decides, what if he just gets the kingdom? And they don't wake up Briar Rose. And she does sleep for 100 years, and the dad and the prince run the kingdom. So that's what happens. And Briar Rose wakes up 100 years later, and of course the entire world has been destroyed as she knew it. And she has to make her way through this new world, and she teams up with a spider who is a woman who kind of helps her through get away from some evil people at the very beginning, but she's got a lot of people chasing her down. And in issue 2, they come across some bog witches who are the last remnants of the fairies who were her godmothers. And they offer her a sanctuary. They say she can stay with them and nothing bad will ever happen to her, but she kind of has to give up whatever other search she's on. And Briar Rose makes her decisions. We see some things happen. It's very classic fairy tale in that over over fantasy kind of dialogue. So this is, it's very like deep. You have to be prepared for what you're going to read kind of situation, because you do get a lot of the fantasy kind of speak and dialogue in it. But if you are a fan of Sleeping Beauty, this is a really cool retelling of that story. And I love that we do get a hero in Briar Rose who's like, you know, I'm not going to do that. Screw you guys. Like, I slept for 100 years because people told me what to do, and it didn't work out so well. So maybe this time I'm not going to listen to any of y'all. Super cool, super fun story. I'm going to take another drink because this wine is so good. Good. I'm like, does it say like where? Like anything specific? It is from La Joya del Campo in Spain. And I love it because they actually write España. Like, it's like they didn't like, the label is obviously like everything on the bottom half of the label is actually in Spanish. Which import. Is, yeah, it's actually imported. It does say it's imported by Saranti Imports. So it is actually an imported wine, which is cool. All right, what else do we got? We've got some endings this week. We had issue 5 of The Tiger's Tongue, which is from Mad Cave Studios. Very sad to see this one end. I love the concept of this book. This was all about a kingdom where everybody in like the royal family has the ability to speak with the tiger's tongue. They can speak to tigers. They are called the Tiger Dynasty. And the rules of the kingdom is that if there are ever two twins born within the family, that they will, upon their 18th birthday, have to fight for who will have the power of the tiger and will rule the kingdom. It's kind of, they were not told that. These two sisters, who are our main characters, were not told that that would be the situation until the day of the 18th birthday, when they go to crown the one sister who has been training forever to be the queen. Well, the other sister decides she's not going to back down so much, and she kind of becomes corrupted by the power of the tiger and loses sight of everything. And so over the course of their trials, these two sisters begin to actually fight in a way that they had said that they never would. And the village kind of suffers for it. And we see a twist and a turns of who the sisters are and who they want to be. And we get a really good story. This last issue kind of wraps up with a lot of action. And I would have loved to see a little bit more from the sisters, but it definitely goes to some dark places. And it was a really great story the whole way through. Like, I think this is one of those, we start to talk about how Mad Cave has got a lot of books that are coming out recently that are really pushing Mad Cave in a different direction, and I think this goes in that list of this, Speed Republic, even Potions Inc., which was very magic focused as well, but a very deep story. We're starting to see a lot of great Mad Cave stories, and I can't wait to see what they do next. From Scout Comics, we have issue 5 of Mega Centurions. This ending was so good, it almost made the entire series go into like a pick of the week, because I really like the way they chose to go with this. And I'm so excited. I suggested this book to one of our customers this week who bought all 5 issues and then came back the next day just to talk about how much they loved the series. So I was really excited to see somebody else fall in love with this series. But this is all about 3 people who were given powers by the government, kind of like Power Rangers, like powers by the government to fight a bad guy who showed up. And once they had defeated the bad guy, and they did it all as like early teens, 20s, and once they defeated the bad guy, the government was basically like, we don't need you anymore because we don't have that threat, so you're on your own. And so they all kind of ended up in like retail jobs, working at grocery stores or working at restaurants as servers, and the world kind of just forgot about them. And while they were honored as heroes, they were never given, their names were never given out, so people never treated them like heroes. They just worshipped these like idols of these people. And in issue 1, a their main villain shows back up and they think, oh my gosh, we're going to have to fight this person. And we actually get the real backstory of what happened. And there was actually never this like ancient war and these terrible battles that like came to them. It was actually just a huge fight between a family of an alien race. And this battle is still raging on. And these heroes decide that maybe it's time they actually get to be heroes for themselves and they get to make their own decisions. And the way this wrapped up could have gone in the normal like action fight battle kind of way, but it kind of goes in the way that I really like, in that Captain Marvel ending or the Wonder Woman 1984 ending, where it's like, hey, I don't actually need to fight you in the way that you want me to. And I love that this story kind of chose to go in that direction, and it gave a really good ending. If you didn't read Mega Centaurians, just grab all 5 issues and read it straight through, because it's such a good series and you're going to enjoy it a lot. And it kind of falls in that same thing that I talk about with the Radiant Black universe, where I really love these superheroes who are like, we were heroes. We don't necessarily like feel like we're heroes. We don't necessarily feel like we deserve to be heroes, but we're going to try to earn that respect in our own way. And maybe if they don't give it back to us and they never actually honor us, we'll figure out something else. Super great story. Absolutely highly suggest Mega Centurions from Scout. And we have all 5 issues if you ever want to jump in. Also wrapping up this week from AWA Upshot is Absolution. And this is issue 5 for Absolution as well. This is a great story. I love this story. This is, it follows a woman who is known for being a killer. She's known for her assassin work. And she is, in our society at this time, we will put, kind of like they did with the Suicide Squad in DC Comics, they kind of put a bomb, a trigger inside your brain, and they make you fight for social media ratings to survive, to gain your freedom. And you do that by, you have to go around and kill other people who are bad. You have to you have to kill bad guys to earn your absolution. And she finds that people in our society don't like her. They don't like that she's a woman. They don't think she's interesting enough. They don't think her kills are cool enough. Honestly, a lot of the comments are just due to give her a low score because she's not fighting naked. And over the course of the series, she determines that she's going to go after people who are human traffickers or who are just terrible. And she's going to try to earn her absolution by fighting against those people and killing them. And the way the story just develops from there becomes great. I love it. You have the news reporters who are like the sports commentators, just commentating on everything she does, and you get that round table discussion like you do after like a football game or something. It's really cool. Really great story. This is also Peter Milligan, and it's good. It's good commentary on our society. It's a great action story. I could honestly see, I know AWA has a partnership for a lot of their books to be turned into TV shows. That they just recently signed a contract to just have most of their books go directly to like optioned. And I think this would be a great option for a TV show. So I hope we get an Absolution show out of it, because it's going to be great. All right, now we're to number 1s. Look, see, we're doing it. We're killing it. We're crushing through things. Our number 1s this week, this is actually from last week. This is Nobody's Girls. From Sumerian Comics as well. And this is going to be an interesting new series. This is all about a man who, I have to be careful. Okay, this is a man who's a teacher, and he kind of doesn't really have anything going for him. He teaches high school students, and then he goes home and he's like miserable old man on his own. So he is really into porn. And he ends up renting, and this is why I have to be careful, he ends up renting a porn from an adult film store, and he gets it out of the store, and there's a recording over it of a woman who is actually like chained up and tortured that like interrupts it, and she's asking for help. And he takes it back to the store and he's like, I don't think this was supposed to be in there. And they're like, oh, you probably just got that out of like the personal section. Like, we have a lot of films that are like actually just people who turned in their own sex tapes, and that's probably what it was. Like, don't worry about it. But it turns out like he is going to worry about it because he's certain that there's something more going on with it. And he ends up getting a yearbook left on his doorstep mysteriously, and he finds out that the girl in the video is actually somebody in this yearbook that somebody left behind, and he teams up with another girl who is from the community to start to solve the mystery of a missing person who nobody believes her is still alive, or that believes that this girl even was existing, and it's her friend from high school, and she's determined to find her and save her. And now the only person who can help her is this man who rented an adult video. It's a really interesting concept, a great way to set up a story, and I'm kind of curious to see where all it's gonna go. This is issue 1, so now's the only time to jump in. From Source Point, I'm gonna drink again. Sorry, I'm at the point where I'm thirsty now, so we're just gonna keep drinking this Talma wine. Okay.
I need wine music back.
I know, you need like oh, we're taking a break, like after these messages. Like, I don't want to say the rest of it because I don't know if I'm gonna get sued. I don't know if that's like a copywritten song, so we'll just stop there. From Source Point Press, we have issue 1 of Mysterium, the Spectral Serpent. I don't know if this is a game because it also has an Asmodee logo on the back. So I'm wondering if Mysterium is some kind of board game. Because why else would it have an Asmodee logo?
Isn't it an escape room?
I mean, Mysterium is escape room. If you live in the Bradenton, Sarasota area, you can go to the Mysterium escape room downtown Sarasota, right across from the Hollywood Theater. But this comic is in fact not about an escape room. But it could be, honestly. This is the story of a man who is given a crystal ball. He is kind of a sorcerer supreme type thing. He's given a crystal ball that's a family heirloom. And while he is at a party, the butler, essentially, at this family home is murdered, and he even looks like Dr. Strange. I mean, look at his outfit. The butler of this family is murdered, and he feels like he needs to solve the mystery, and so he calls together a bunch of people who all have different psychic abilities. Like, there's one person who he calls, I'm going to see if I can find all these people. He calls in like a guy who speaks to spirits through different ways. He calls in a woman who is known for her tarot readings. He calls in another witch woman, and they are all sent to kind of figure out what happened with this person. How was he murdered? Why is he still hanging on? And they all come to a point where they think that they have figured out how he's dead, and then the issue ends. So we don't know. Everybody just kind of does their own investigation, and they all show up in the same room, and they're like, I've got it. And then we don't get anything. So it really does honestly feel like I'm in an escape room or I'm in a board game, because it does have that setup of, oh, we're all going to go, like, what's your path? Which direction do you want to go? Okay, well, like, now let's put all the clues together. It does also feel like Clue.
Nick says it is a board game and they sell it at the store.
There you go. It is a board game and it is available at Mysterium. So if you want to play the Mysterium board game, you can go grab it when you check out the Mysterium escape room in downtown Sarasota. And if you want to get a discount, you can come buy the Mysterium comic at Bat City Comic Professionals and take your receipt over to Mysterium Monday through Thursday, and you can save 20% off on your escape room experience. Also, that's really cool. I'm glad I noticed that Asmodee logo because I totally didn't notice it the first time. But I was like, I feel like I was playing a game while I read it. So
Asmodee's the distributor
for board games, if you didn't know. Yes, thank you for reminding me to tell people that. Also from Aftershock Comics, we have issue 1 of Fear of a Red Planet. And I actually thought this was a one-shot until I read it, and then I was like, oh, it's totally not a one-shot. This is a full-on new series. And this is your high sci-fi series. Aftershock is known for like sci-fi and horror, and I feel like we've had a lot of sci-fi recently coming from Aftershock, but if I could not make this any more sci-fi than showing you this picture right here. It takes place in the future. We've left Earth. We have a lot of people have left Earth, and they are living on a red planet, and in spaceships. And in this particular group, we have a whole bunch of people who are living on it, and they're kind of trying to earn their way back off of this planet to somewhere else. And we've got all of the, like, this guy's kind of a jerk, this one's kind of the smart one, but we have this woman who is, like, kind of our main character, and she's kind of just like, let's just do what we gotta do, let's get our job done, like, stop messing around, people. And she's doing an okay job of keeping her team together and keeping everything settled, and then we have a murder. So now we've got a murder in space, and we've got to figure it out, and everything that could go wrong is going to go wrong because of it. If you are into sci-fi, this book has, like, the whole first 2/3 of this book is just hardcore sci-fi, space adventure. Kind of feels a little bit like the first Alien, where it's like, oh, we're all just in this room and we don't really know what's going on, but the whole time I'm like, I feel like something bad's about to happen. And it gives us all the group dynamic, and then it kind of just, it's like, oh, something's coming. Like, this person's probably going to die in the next scene, or like this, because they're like the terrible person who definitely deserves to have something bad happen to them, so it'll probably last most of the movie. You kind of get a lot of those feelings, like, setting up with it. It has all those classic setups, so if you're into that, this is going to be a book for you. I'm really curious to see what goes on, because I was like, okay, this is sci-fi, and then we get to the last couple of pages, and I'm like, oh, now we're doing this. So I'm curious to see what happens. I'm curious to see where it goes. Issue 1, like I said, Aftershock did just report that they are having a lot of delays, but they are catching up, so hopefully we won't have to wait too long for issue 2. One shot. This is a one shot. This is Cover of Darkness. This is Origins. It is from Source Point Press. If you haven't read Cover of Darkness, I love it. It is a Universal Monsters story from Source Point that has all of the Universal Monsters in it. Has a Romani family who has all been kidnapped or orchestrated around different places by the Universal Monsters, and this is a one-shot. The creator actually told us this was going to be coming soon as our next thing before the next volume of Cover of Darkness, and we are getting some origins of the different people, and the first story in this book is actually the origin of Count Orlok, who, if you know us at Bat City, you know we're huge fans of. It takes place in the Carpathian Forest, and there is a young princess, I guess she's the queen, a young queen who is sick, and her brother, who is her great warrior, Orlok, decides that he needs to find a way to save her, and he is told about a group of people who can help him, who are fighting a war, and of course that is Dracula, and he goes out to help them, and he does everything he can that he thinks is the right choice to save his sister, and, if you know who Count Orlok is, you know that it probably doesn't go the way that necessarily would want to. And then the next story is an origin story for people who are warriors for Cthulhu. And we see some samurai battles against Cthulhu, which are really, really cool. And then the story... sorry, I have to show you this shark. This shark's just epic. This really ridiculous, monstrous hammerhead shark fighting against Cthulhu is... I can't. I'm so happy. I just need sharks and Cthulhu to be a thing all the time. And then we have a story of Mary Frankenstein, who is kind of like the bride of Frankenstein-ish. But we do have Frankenstein's creature and Mary, and they're kind of very steampunky, which makes a lot of sense, and I'm surprised we don't see more often because it is like that Victorian time period, and Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein are pieced together creatures, so I'm surprised we don't see more steampunk Frankenstein related stories. But she is an awesome warrior who's like, and scientist who is kind of keeping them both together. Really cool origins for different Universal monsters, but that Orlok one at the beginning, I was just like, I mean, just give me a whole series on this, like expand that into a whole thing. Up next from Image Comics, this is actually in issue 8, but if you know, the Image 30th anniversary is usually like it's got 1 or 2 ongoing stories, and then it's got some teasers for some great Image books coming up, and that is actually why I brought this one particularly, because I'm gonna find it. I'm only gonna show you the one thing. This is the teaser for the new James Tynion book. If you are a fan of James Tynion, this is your teaser for World Tree, which is his new book that is going to be coming out from Image Comics. This is all I'm going to show you. It's like 4 pages. It's amazing. It's more Nice House on the Lake than Something is Killing the Children. So if you're a James Tynion fan and you enjoyed Nice House on the Lake, grab this for your teaser for World Tree, which is his new book coming out from Image, and get prepared because it's going to be another one of those like mind-twisting stories like Nice House. And there's another great like Andrea Moody story at the beginning of that he's been doing with Jeff Johns. And it's on issue 8 because that is the main ongoing story that's got like a murder mystery horror like slasher thing going on in a snowstorm. I'm really afraid of snowstorms after all the comics this year. Like, I'm going to be like, I can never go into the snow again. From Archie Comics, we have a one-shot featuring Bob Phantom. And if you don't know, this is your pulp classic comic superhero coming out from Archie Comics. This is not a new character, but we are getting a new twist on a classic like 1940s Archie character. And this is the story of Bob Phantom, as he's called, but it is a man who is a journalist, and Bob is not his name at all. But he is a journalist and nobody takes him seriously. He wants to be an undercover reporter. He keeps trying to break big stories, and his boss doesn't want him to. She wants him to just write puff pieces, so she sends him to cover Valerie from the Josie and the Pussycats band on her opening on Broadway as Christine in Phantom of the Opera. And while he is there, somebody attacks Val, and he jumps in to try to save her, or at least he thinks he does, because he imagines the world much different than it actually is, and in reality he actually kind of gets his butt handed to him, but everybody starts cheering his name, Bob Phantom, which is not, again, his name is Walt Whitney, and for some reason even Valerie can't remember his name, and so he starts imagining his life if he was a superhero named Bob Phantom. And every time he's in a situation where bad things happen, he imagines life as a superhero named Bob. And in reality, he's just kind of living in his imagination, but he does get the great scoop of a report that he's always wanted, and so he becomes the hero he wants to in some way or another. But I do like it because they list, oh my gosh, there's a great Sam Eagle at the back. What is that? Look at this Diamond Select toy of Sam Eagle from the Muppets. And is that Rizzo the Rat with him? Oh, man. Stop it. Man. I'm going to have to order a statue that I didn't need. There's also a teaser for the next Archie holiday book, which is a Jughead the Hunger holiday special. I'm so excited. This isn't what I was coming to show you guys at all, but I love this. This is what I came to show you. There is a history of Bob Phantom in the back, and a little bit of history about Archie Comics and how long that they've been going on, and how Bob Phantom was one of their characters at the very beginning before they were ever even called Archie Comics. So super cool. If you are a fan of Golden Age pulp comics, read Bob. I'll just put it aside for you now, Matt, because I said all the words that you love: Archie, Golden Age, and pulp. Speaking of Golden Age pulp comics, Dynamite brought back Catman and Kitten, who are also Golden Age superheroes. These are, Catman was a character from 1940 and Kitten was a character from 1941. And Dynamite brought them back with a brand new story that reads exactly like a Golden Age comic. This is the story of Catman and Kitten. Catman, in his normal day-to-day life, goes to a dinner party and a relic from a Mayan temple that was stolen is brought out by an adventurer. And, of course, people come in and they steal it, and the only one who can save the day is Catman, who is a man whose parents were murdered while they were in Burma, and he was left there, raised in the jungle by tigers. So now he can speak to cats, which is the greatest power of all powers. If I could pick a superpower, talking to my cat and her understanding me and me understanding her would definitely be the power I would want. In classic Golden Age fashion, they have to go to somebody who can do a seance to track down the mystic relic item by calling on demons. And then they have to go fly to this place with another Golden Age hero who is in battle with people as they go. And their reporter... The reporter who knows who they are just travels with them the whole time in like Jimmy Olsen fashion and is like, your secret's safe with me, but like I'm just here to take pictures. And they end up in the jungle and they are trying to figure out where the relic came from. They think they're going to rescue it. They also like need to figure out what is going on with it. It's literally just a Golden Age story. A little bit, like, not even modernized, like, really, honestly, because your camera person is still carrying around a gigantic camera from, like, the 1900s. Super cool. Honestly, like, if you're a fan of Golden Age, you're going to love it. I know a lot of times, like, when Dynamite puts out books, people are like, oh, well, I'm not into, like, booby magazines, but not all Dynamite books are that. And so this is actually, they do have a lot of the 1940s pulp comic rights, and they're bringing a lot of those people back, and I'm really excited about that. So if you're a fan of pulp comics, grab this. I believe there's also another Green Hornet coming out from Dynamite soon, so that's exciting. Catman Kitten, issue 1.
Is it on the wall?
It is not on the wall. It's on the top. If you need it, put it on look above. Secret information if you come into Bat City that you may not know. Our wall A for new comics is in alphabetical order. All publishers mixed together in alphabetical order. You got to look at everybody so you can see all the great books. But above that, there is a long metal rail that has about 14 different comics on it every week. Those are additional new titles. They're not just additional covers. They're other new titles that may not be featured on the wall. Means that I might have ordered less of them, or they're new and I want people to check them out so I can see if they're going to gain a spot on the wall, or there's something that we've sold out of all the other issues. Things like that, one-shots, anything like that. There's also a second section that's got 8 spots that usually has new Marvel and DC that don't fit on the wall. And then there's always a section at the end that usually has your incentives and special variants of different kinds that are right closest to the register. Boom and Aftershock have their own feature spots. So if there is a Boom or Aftershock title that you cannot find, they are on one of those feature posts or the magazine rack where all of your prestige format books are going to be. Up next from Dark Horse Comics is a book that I'm going to butcher the name of, Koshi in Hell. Let's assume that that's how you say that. This is from your Hellboy universe, and it is actually Mike Mignola writing the story. A lot of people, whenever we mention these Hellboy books that are continues to come out, are like, oh, but like Mike Mignola's not actually working on them anymore, right? Well, this one is, in fact, Mike Mignola on the story. But Ben Steinbeck on the art, and you honestly can't tell the difference. Like this is Ben Steinbeck is doing a great job of doing that Mignola style art. And this is the story of a man who is deathless. He's Koshi the Deathless, and he basically died and was put back together again, kind of like Frankenstein's monster, and now he can never die again. And we learn at the beginning from the character Ghost, who's from the Hellboy universe, that Hellboy is dead, and he has left Hell in Koshi's capable hands, and he doesn't want it. And he is supposed to be trying to find his soul that was placed inside of all of these things that was eaten by a goat. And the only way to find that is to travel to Hell, which works out really well because a creature in Hell is trying to destroy the world. And so they need him to travel to Hell anyway to stop that. And the only reason he's going to do it is because his soul might, in fact, be there. If you are fans of the Hellboy universe, this is a must pick up. And if you're not and you're looking for a place to jump in, I always recommend these like side stories of like things that are from the Hellboy universe. That's a great way to kind of just get a cool story and see if the Hellboy universe is for you. This is one of a 4-part series, so it's a great place to kind of experiment and see if you like the characters in the Hellboy world. I'm going to take another drink of this Talma wine. I need you to do like the Blue's Clues, like.
Is that what that's from?
Yeah.
It's from Blue's Clues?
Yeah. That's where I got that from. I don't know. Because Faze also used to do it. It's essentially just a Nickelodeon sound effect. Because there used to be a face that came on in the commercial breaks on Nickelodeon. It was literally like a colorful screen, and it was just like the drawn face, like eyes and a mouth and stuff. And it also would do that. It'd be like, oh, next up is this show. And so I can't, that was our time period. That was like when we were kids, but like Blue's Clues was after. But they both did it. And I think like I got in the habit of doing it when Face was out, but then Blue's Clues like brought it back when I would see Blue's Clues on while watching like children.
Is Blue's Clues a Nickelodeon show?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. That makes sense. I thought it was PBS.
No, it could have. It should have been. It wasn't, but it could have been.
Ah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I could be wrong. Am I wrong? Is Blue's Clues not Nickelodeon? If you're watching, let me know, because I thought Blue's Clues was Nickelodeon, but I could be a liar now. Up next from Scout Comics. This is a non-stop mature reader title, so it's not usually non-stop. We always talk about our kids' books, but this is an adult book that's actually non-stop, which means you're getting this issue 1, and then it's going to come out as a trade paperback. Nigel says Nick Jr., so yes, that's what I thought. Okay. And this is issue 1 of Pulp Bites. And this is crazy. First of all, it has that beautiful crushed soft cover that Scout Comics does that just makes you want to touch the covers so that you can never grade your comic, but you can also just feel the beautiful, amazing softness of the cover. But if you're a fan of EC horror kind of books, this is gonna be one that you'll kind of dig because it's got that pulpy horror. And the first story in it is about a mom. It's about a mom and a daughter, and the mom is a pageant daughter. Like the little girl, she honestly kind of looks like Honey Boo Boo, but it's a mom is forcing her daughter to do pageant work. And she tells the daughter that she has to eat all her diet pills. And she keeps trying to force the diet pills on the daughter. And the whole time you think the daughter is taking the diet pills. And then the mom keeps talking about being hungry and how she can't figure out why she's so hungry and why she doesn't feel good. And she's like, well, maybe I should take one of your diet pills. And the little girl's like, you have been, Mommy. I haven't actually taken any of them. I've been giving them all to you. And I don't want to show you what happens after that, but it's crazy. So read that to figure out what's in the diet pills. And then the second story in the book is called Terms and Conditions. And it is about a couple who takes their kids. They want to go out and do stuff, and they take their kids to a babysitting service in the mall. And the guy tells them, make sure you read the terms and conditions carefully. And they are like, yeah, terms and conditions. Nobody reads those. And then they keep checking their app to see where their kids are because the wife is kind of nervous. And then the parents go out and they decide to spend their time getting drunk. And they don't care about the time frame. They're like, who cares if we go over our time? That's their problem, not our problem. except they didn't read the terms and conditions. And there's something that goes down if you leave your kids past the time frame that you agreed to. It's classic twists and turns of horror. Again, if you're fans of Creepshow or any of the things like that, any of those classic horror books, you're going to love these really short vignettes of horror stories. And honestly, after reading it, I was like, dang, I'm going to have to order a ton of this nonstop trade because I can already think of like 10 people who are going to love it, and one of them is me. So, Scout, just expect a big order from me on that nonstop. Matt's like, yep, me.
That's my kind of book.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Up next from Ahoy Comics, the return of one of my favorite series. This is Volume 2, Number 1 of My Bad. This is Mark Russell, who, if you watch the show often, you know is one of my favorite comic book writers of all time. Mark, if you're watching, thank you for being amazing. This is Volume 2 of My Bad. And you know what? I'm going to respect this page that says 3 people died at the plant for processing this much ink to make this book so blue. So I'm just going to respect that by showing that off for a second because that's a lot of blue ink. But this, My Bad, is a superhero world of some really interesting superheroes. Specifically, the main one is our Batman, our Adam West style Batman, who is known as the Chandelier because he is the heir to the fortune of the Chandelier fame. In Volume 1, he decides to retire, and he's not doing so well with it. There is now a serial killer who is hunting down people who he thinks are superheroes, but he's doing a terrible job, basically. If you have the same sounding name, he's going after you. So, like, this woman's name is Phyllis Vindicator, and he thinks that that's the Vindicator, so he shows up as a pizza delivery man and kills Phyllis, who is in fact not a superhero. She is an old crotchety woman. And the Chandelier is pissed off because nobody is coming after him. And he finds out that he's only going after current heroes and not has-been heroes, which really frustrates the Chandelier. And now he is determined to become a hero again and also order lots and lots of pizza, hoping that this person will come after him. That is our main story, which we'll see continue to go on as we happen through the story. But our backup story follows Rush Hour and Emperor King. And their relationship is my favorite because in Volume 1, Rush Hour is a superhero who is known for only stopping minor traffic crimes. In fact, in Volume 1, there's a part where he sees somebody not wearing a seatbelt and he goes after them. And then there's also a point where somebody's like jaywalking or something simple like that, and he goes after them while somebody on the other side of the street is being beaten to death by a bad guy, and he's like, that's not my problem. He ends up in Volume 1 getting stuck in Emperor King's trap, and over the course of the time that Emperor King feels really bad because Rush Hour is not who it was meant for, and he's not even a big superhero. They end up becoming best friends and roommates. And he finds out that Rush Hour is dating people on a superhero app. So Emperor King pretends to be a superhero so that he can go out on a date. And the woman he dates is named Good Karen. Because her name was Karen and she was mad that the name Karen got turned into a terrible thing. So she starts fighting for good, because she wants to prove that Karens are not a bad thing. However, she is definitely a giant Karen the entire time. And Emperor King thinks he's in love with her. And then we get a third story at the very back where we find out how Emperor King became a superhero, a fake superhero, and where he got all of the gear from. It's a great parody. Mark Russell's written a ton of superhero stories, so he's got a lot of experience with the superhero world. And he brings it all perfectly together into the most ridiculous things. Like Emperor King has a pet monkey named Acid Chimp. And he trained Acid Chimp to throw acid at superheroes. And now that he's not a villain really so much anymore, he wishes Acid Chimp would stop throwing acid. And he won't. And I love it because they do one of those like superhero profile pages on Acid Chimp. And I know you already showed this, but it's freaking hilarious because it's like, oh, what are you good at? And it's like finding acid even when I'm not supposed to. And just really, really great, hilarious, fun. If you didn't read My Bad Volume 1, let me know and I will order a copy for you because you need to read it. It's hilarious, but Volume 2 is out and you could start here because he does explain everything really well.
Is that a pick of the week?
It's not. It could be. I just love My Bad. I do. I love Mark Russell and I love My Bad so much. It could easily be one. But also new this week is issue 1 of Plush. This is an Image Comics title. This is from the same team that gave you Plastic and Vinyl was the pick of the week every week it came out. So just know that I'm probably going to love this. This is the story of a man whose girlfriend, fiance, cheats on him. I guess he was going to propose to her. And she cheats on him with a police officer who works for her father. And the guy's like, I don't know, I kind of love her. Maybe I should still marry her. And his best friend's like, no, you definitely shouldn't. You need to suck it up and come out and go to this con with me. That's a furry con. Wear a furry suit. Let's go to this furry con. Let's do this. And he gives him some drinks. And the guy is definitely roofied while he goes to this con. And his friend abandons him. And while he's at this con, he starts to feel really sick, so he goes out to the back of the convention center and he sees a bunch of furries eating another furry. And he can't decide if it's because he's drugged up or if it's because that's actually happening, but he's not really sure what's going on. And he gets arrested and ends up in custody of his possibly future father-in-law and the man that his girlfriend cheated on him with, and everything gets really, really crazy from there on. And I really wonder if this book's gonna make me cry like Vinyl did in some weird way, because I never would have thought that going into issue 1, but by issue 4 of Vinyl I was already in tears. So I'm kind of curious to see where this goes and if this does this. This is actually really cool because this is a Tony Fleecs cover who did Stray Dogs. And there is a Tony cover for every issue, so I'm kind of excited to see what those covers look like. But if you like a good murder mystery and crazy, crazy, crazy concepts, you're probably going to love this. This is Plush. Also, share it with your furry friends. Sabretooth Dan versus the Moon. This is a Scoot title from Scout Comics. This is one of their kids' books. I just let that go. This is actually more of a picture book than a comic book, but I know we brought Sabretooth Dan the first versus Brunch the first time it came out, and so I wanted to bring it out again for this new one. In this volume of Sabretooth Dan, what is he? Is a sorcerer? Whatever. The town mystic basically gets a prophecy that says Dan has to fight against all these things and complete all these tasks of like Herculean style tasks, and that they're all written on the moon and Dan must complete them before he can move on. It's his destiny. And so Dan starts completing all these tasks, and every time he comes back, there's more and more tasks, and they're all ridiculous, and he hates them all. So Dan flies up to the moon to see if it's all a load of bull, and finds out that all the tasks are actually written on the moon. So Dan decides to take matters into his own hands and creates his own prophecy, and you get this incredibly cute story. I love Sabretooth Dan. He's hilarious, and I love his adventures. So if you're just looking for a happy, fun story, Sabretooth Dan is a great one, and it is kid-friendly. You can share it with any age, and you should just buy Scoot books for everybody because they're great. Also, new number 1 this week is Phantom-esque number 1. It's from New Friday Comics, I think. I think this is one of the books that people were like, I didn't even order it and it showed up, and I don't know if that's the case or not, but I didn't remember this book until it got here, but here it is. This is another one of those like fun, also smells like fresh ink and paper. This is kind of pulpy in its own. This is a black and white comic, and it is the story of a spy who goes undercover to try to stop some people who are, doing some shady things, and they're going to have an auction, and it's a whole bunch of villains at this auction, and he goes undercover to try to stop them, and he gets kidnapped. Like, he gets caught by them, and now they're auctioning him off so that all the bad guys can kill this spy if they so choose. And you have to have, a sidekick who comes in to actually do all the hard work. And you get just kind of your classic, like, team-up, buddy, spy, comedy story that you get in a lot of the old classic pulp comics. But I love this art. I love how cool it is to see it in black and white. It's a fun story. I love the side-by-side fighting that goes over all these panels. Like, the paneling's really cool in this book. The story's a lot of fun. It's an oversized book, like, both in actual physical size and, like, the story is a little bit thicker. I would definitely want to see more of these characters. I want to see more of what they do. I love the way the story plays out. I love how much fun it was. It's a $10 book, but it's all high gloss, thick cover, thick pages, and a lot of story. So I definitely recommend checking it out. This is Phantom X. This is issue 1. This is the whole story for this particular story, but I imagine we're going to see some more from these characters coming soon. And then my last new number 1 is Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, Boom Studios, Jason Aaron. And it's called Book 1, Love in the Wasteland. You don't have to write that down. It's just Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. Already the longest title possible.
With the subtitle.
With the subtitle, Love in the Wasteland.
From Boom.
From Boom. Yes. And Jason Aaron, which is why it has so many titles. Because it's Jason Aaron. But it's just the story of a girl who's in an apocalyptic world. And she's in a boat. She's kind of sailing through all the waste and destruction that's happened. And it talks about how she hasn't eaten in days, and she hasn't done, she's all alone. She doesn't know where she's going. And she ends up landing at this, like, high tower, old, skyscraper building. And inside of that is a young boy who has been on his own in this place forever and is the opposite. While she's learned to fight everything and has been going against all these, like, evil people and all the dark destruction of the world, this person has been sitting in his tower with all of these things. A book room, a river room, a giant, like, pool, a room full of vending machine snacks. Like, has never actually had anything to worry about the whole time in this place because there's still more rooms to go. Because they are an inventor, and he's kind of, like, invented all this stuff to keep himself safe, and he was taught by his parents to just kind of stay put and never do anything. And of course, that's not where the story is going to go. This is a character who needs to find adventure, who meets a character who's seen it all, and the two of them kind of team up for what's to come. And I say kind of because one of them wants to team up and the other one doesn't. Really fun. Honestly, this is one of those, like, stories where you're going to see these two characters come together in a really amazing way. And you're going to see a lot of growth, and it's going to happen very quickly. And it's Jason Aaron, and so it's fantastic writing. Honestly, it's Boom. It's Jason Aaron. That's literally how I sold the book. Everybody was like, "Did you read it yet?" And I was like, "It's Boom and Jason Aaron. What do you need to know? It's going to be great." And everybody who read it agreed that was in fact all they needed to know when they picked it up, and it was great the whole time that they did it. A good, amazing story. You should definitely read it. It's going to be the next one that, like, Boom's really talking about for sure. Okay, I got some picks for you. Which that was one of those where I was like, this could be a pick of the week. And, it was last week, so could still be pick of last week. But I've got some more picks for this week. One of them is this wine. This Talma wine is really good. I'm digging it. It's fantastic. I don't know. Matt brought back like 6 bottles of wine today for the next 6 weeks of live streams and was like, take a pick. And I was like, I don't know. They all look amazing. And this one's really good.
Girls' night.
Yes. No, we're in December. December 15th, ladies' night. Our Geek Girls night. We are gonna have it's 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's a Thursday night, the 15th. There's some wine. It's gonna be good. There's also gonna be coffee and tea and probably some snacks. Come hang out and talk about comics. Talk about Disney. Talk about movies. Talk about whatever you geek out about. If you geek out about nail polish, I don't care. Come talk to me about your incredibly favorite style of nail polish. If your favorite thing is Loungefly, let's talk about this amazing Toto bag that I just got and all of the ones that you collect, because I want to hear about them. If you do art, I don't care. Whatever you nerd out about, come nerd out with me on December 15th. I'll bring the wine and the coffee and the tea and the snacks. You just show up. What?
Unless you're a boy.
Unless you're a boy. But if you are, honestly, if you don't identify as male, this is your occasion to come. So anybody else, if you identify as female or non-binary, you are welcome to come and hang out and geek out over things with me. The boys have had enough run and enough fun. It's our turn. Let's have a night that's just for us. We do it once a month. Come hang out. Picks of the week that I got for you. First up is issue 3 of Pink Lemonade. And this is from Oni Press. And honestly, truthfully, this book is just so much fun. Every time I read it, I'm like, I can't tell if it's just really weird or if it's just really amazing or if it's just really wonderful or if it's all of the above. And I'm thinking it's all of the above. But the story so far is that Pink Lemonade has just shown up out of nowhere. We don't know where from. And it's just this positive ray of sunshine who just wants to experience this life because she has no memory of anything and she wants to kind of figure it out. And she falls, she meets these two people, a mom and a daughter. They're obsessed with a character called OJ Bot, which is just this happy hero from like the golden age. And she kind of just falls into that and loves it. And then she goes on about her quest and she ends up in a movie set and she ends up on a movie and she's working with like an Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of guy. And she finds out he just wants to make art. So she convinces him to quit movies and make art. And they both kind of walk away from the studio. And that's where we pick up in issue 3 where the big beefcake guy is making art and Pink Lemonade is going to support him at his art show. I love it because you see him in his little glasses because he's moved on. And while they're there, the curator of the gallery takes Pink Lemonade into their room and is like having this conversation with her, and it's really existential and the art gets really like Trad Moore-esque existential. And it becomes this crazy thing where Pink Lemonade's kind of talking about who she is and who she wants to be. And then we find out that the studio has decided to still make a Pink Lemonade movie because they now own the rights to this person. And so the studio director studio owner who's mad that Pink Lemonade and his main action star have left him shows up at this art show with the person that's going to be playing Pink Lemonade in the movie. And we kind of get this epic battle between fake Pink Lemonade and actual Pink Lemonade, which is super cool the way they draw that as well. And Pink Lemonade's like, don't you wish that you could like be your own person and kind of figure yourself out? Like, why do you want to be somebody else? And she's like, I'm an actress. Like, I am Pink Lemonade. Like, this is my role. And she's like, I'm not playing a role. This is just who I am. Like, why don't you just be who you are and love your life and like figure it out for yourself? And I kind of love that about Pink Lemonade. It's just really a book about not knowing who you are and figuring out who you want to be and kind of whatever that is, whatever path you want to be, like nobody can define who you are. You've been an action star forever, but you want to be an artist? Great, go be an artist. You don't have to be an action star anymore. Make your art, live your life. Oh, you don't know who you are and you need to figure out who you want that to be? Try everything. Take your path. Do what you want to do. And I absolutely love this book because every page is just these like witticisms of wonder from Pink Lemonade. And it's almost like the way I feel when I watch Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, where they just give you these like cute little nuggets of like positivity. That's what Pink Lemonade does on every page, and I absolutely love it. And the art is just like, there's that one page right before where Pink Lemonade walks into the room and the person's upside down And she's like, I don't really know, like, what's going on. And you have to, and can I flip it over? You have to flip it over so you can read the other things. Like, the word bubbles are even upside down. And I just think it's super cool that they are constantly twisting and turning and playing with this medium in this book. If you haven't read issues 1 and 2, we have them. I highly recommend Pink Lemonade. It's just a positive book. I love it so much. From Vault, we have issue 5 of Zach Kaplan's Mindset. This book has been...
Your hands up.
Oh, sorry. Mindset, issue 5. This book has actually been labeled like Shann recommends or whatever in the store the entire time, but I don't feel like I've actually ever... I feel like we haven't even had the book like on Picks of the Week yet, and that's a huge misservice to this book because it's so freaking good. This is another one of those, like, there's a lot in every issue, like you feel like you read a novel because of how deep it gets in every single issue. But this is the story of a guy who is actually in a police room telling us the story. And he's telling us the story of how when he was in college, he was going to fail out of his class as an engineering program, I believe, a software engineer. And so he develops an app. He goes in to do his research project he's supposed to do, and he ends up working with his TA, and they develop an app because they figure out mind control in the process of doing this research experiment. And they think that if they can create a social media program that can rid you of influence, that they and make you not be influenced by advertising and different things like that, that they're actually saving the world. But murder, corruption, and who is in charge and who is influencing who, because this becomes the theme of this book. And each piece of the puzzle kind of falls into place more and more throughout this story. We get this really, really great mystery. We get this great story of corporations and how things come to play. And in this particular issue, we finally find out a little bit more about the manipulation and influencing that's been going on. And I yelled at the end of the book, like, oh my God, that's what we're doing. All right, let's do this. I don't know when this ends. I assume the next issue or the issue after might be the last one. It's got to come to an end eventually, but I don't know. In the book, they talk about how they influence people by resetting them every so often, and I'm like, they could just reset my entire mind and start me over at the beginning of the book, and I'd be okay with it because it's so good. This is so well written. Honestly, I think this might be the best Zach Kaplan written book. He's got a lot of books that have come out recently. We had one earlier. And we had Metal Society's been on our wall. We've had a lot of Zach Kaplan in the last year. This is the best one by far. Zach Kaplan is taking it to a whole new level with Mindset. If you didn't read it, I don't know what you're doing. Get out there, grab issues 1 through 5. I know that's hard to do because you're maybe a trade's gonna come soon. I don't know. A lot of times Vault titles run to 8 issues and they just go all to 8 before they ever do a trade at all. Don't miss it. It's so good. And honestly, you're going to need breaks. Do not try to read it all the way through. Even if you buy it in a trade, don't read it all the way through. Read an issue and sit and think about it and then maybe reread that issue. And then start the next one. I think this book definitely benefits from being in single issue format, because there is a lot in every single issue. But hands down, Zach Kaplan, you're crushing it with Mindset. Absolutely wonderful. I'm going to put this right here while I drink a drink of this Talma wine again, because I've been talking for 2 hours. So a glass of wine here and there is definitely handy. I'm going to save some for you. I don't know how much is left in here.
Whatever,
get some of that before I go through crazy. So I'll take the whole thing. One more pick of the week. This is a series that's ending this time. I don't want it to end. This has been an incredible book, but it is from IDW. This is issue 5 of Dark Spaces Wildfire. The greatest thing ever is that I have a picture of Smokey the Bear holding this book in our store. I think that was the greatest moment of my life so far. Huh?
Because he was here.
Because he was here. Because Smokey the Bear is Smokey the Bear is a member of the Bat family. Let's just say that. Like, we adopted Smokey the Bear as a Bat family member. He came and spent a day with us. I can't wait for him to come out and do it again. Smokey, you're the best. I love you. But this is Dark Spaces Wildfire from IDW's original imprint. It is Scott Snyder and Hayden Sherman. And this is the story of a group of women who are prisoners in California, and they are actually sent out to fight wildfires, which is actually a real thing that I learned after reading this book and speaking to people who we have on our and our customers that are firefighters, that is actually a thing that happens. But these women kind of have an Ocean's 11 story going on. They find out that a house that's in the area that they are trying to put out fires in is the home of this guy who basically steals a lot of stuff. He has fancy art. He has a lot of money. And one of their people that works for them is actually the person who managed to worked for him. That's why she's in prison, was she worked for him and she was supposed to organize all of it. So she has all of the codes to the house, and they kind of figure out that they should just steal the money, steal everything, and run away and not be criminals anymore. And what I love, which by being criminals, what I love about this book is each book is told in the narration is done by Ma, who's the team leader, and she, as we go along, talks about the 5 major stages of fire, and you get this emotional journey of Ma telling you about fire and how it's so hard to control and how it's hard to manipulate and how it's hard to guess, and every time as she's describing things, those are the kinds of things that happen in the story. It's classic Scott Snyder indie writing, which Scott Snyder, as you know, if you're a Batman fan, is a great writer, but Scott Snyder as an indie writer is just a masterclass in writing. He's so good. And Hayden Sherman on art just makes it all, it's perfect for a fire story because he does play with it so well. And these two working together on this book has been phenomenal. I can't get enough of it. I honestly am so sad it's over. It is exactly how many issues it needed to be. It was perfectly done. Great story. If you didn't pick it up, you're going to have to get all 5 issues or get it in trade, whatever you need to do, because you need to read this story and see how it plays out. I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. But just know that this is definitely, IDW wants to launch their originals imprint. They want to start talking about creator-owned titles again and not previously existing IP. And this is absolutely how you do it, IDW. This is fantastic. Great job, Scott. Great job, Hayden. And honestly, the colorist Rhonda Pattison, good job. The blues contrasting on those characters over the orange of the fire, that is just such a great way to show emotion. She does such a good job. Rhonda uses color for emotion so well in this story. I love it. And then this is a Martin Simmons cover. So all of you Department of Truth fans, Martin Simmons on that cover is just fantastic. And those are picks of the week. I got a lot of books in stock for you. I'm going to blow through them as fast as I can. Up first, it's hard for me to blow through this, but issue 2 of Punchline the Gotham game. So good. I love my Punchline. I met somebody today that was like, Punchline's amazing! Oh my god! And I was like, we're best friends. Just know that. And this story has been great. Again, DC vs. Vampires, issue 11. We've only got one more issue of the main title for DC vs. Vampires following this, and I love this Harley Zerdy cover. In stock, this is a second print of Silver Sprockets, Everything Sucks, which is one of Matt's favorites.
It would be my pick if it was on the wall.
Yeah, well, it's the second print, so, you know.
And they're coming out with an issue 2?
Yeah, they did. They just announced a new Everything Sucks title that'll be coming out soon. So if you didn't read this one, grab it. It's amazing. If you don't know what it's about, it's a bunch of people it's a couple kids who get high and decide they want some cheeseburgers, and they get to the restaurant and the burger place is closed because somebody pooped inside the burger place, and they protest because the burger place won't let them walk through the drive-thru. It's fantastic. I love it. Make me an animated series, please. Tradmore is back with Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise. I'm just gonna open this up. This is the Tradmore wraparound cover. Good God, like Tradmore was made to make a Doctor Strange comic. I was talking to somebody today who was like, I haven't really read Doctor Strange since the beginning, but Tradmore feels like that all over again. And I was like, yeah, I can see that. Amazing Spider-Man issue 14 came out last week, and it introduced Hallows Eve, which I'm super stoked about because it is a goblin-y looking character whose name is Hallows Eve. I'm sold. You got me. And I love that cover. That's mine. You can't have it. But there are more in the store. Nubia and the Justice League Special, issue 1. This is for all people who read Trials of the Amazons. This is kind of our next step in that as we bring that together. DC's Christmas book this year is Grifter Got Ran Over by a Reindeer, because the 90s are back, and Grifter is everywhere. So this is our DC Christmas book this year. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories in it. A Superman and Wonder Woman story, Black Canary and Constantine, Frankenstein, Batman has a story, Harley Quinn, and 8 Crazy Nights, because we always give Harley Quinn a Hanukkah story now, which I appreciate because she has established that she's at least half Jewish. An Animal Man story, Hawkman and Hawkwoman, and a Grifter story about how the Grifter stole Christmas. Super excited. I always love the DC holiday books. There's always something in it that makes you have warm fuzzies. Spider-Man Double Trouble, Peter Parker and Miles Morales. This is Mariko Tamaki. Yeah, Mariko Tamaki doing a Miles and Peter fun kid story. The Double Trouble books are always great from Marvel. Godzilla Rivals. This is Godzilla versus Gigan. Super excited to see that. Yeah. With an ad for Last Ronin the Lost Years coming out soon. If you didn't tell us that you want it, please let us know if you're gonna want the new Last Ronin book, which is kind of the prequel / sequel. Rogue Sun issue 8. This is part of your Radiant Black Massive Verse. But it's, I think, possibly my favorite Radiant Massive Verse universe story. Ninja Kaiden. This is issue 5 of Ninja Kaiden, about a man whose father dies and he has to go into a ghost world and work as a ninja. Justice Warriors from Ahoy Comics. This is issue 6. This is Ahoy Comics talking about the police and the government and how things are running. From Keen Spot, we have issue 3 of Bonnier the Aromatic, which is all about a girl much like Tank Girl who battles against people, and her superpower is that she smells really, really bad. Avengers. This is the Avengers Assemble Alpha issue. This is an oversized Avengers special leading into the next wave of the Avengers story. Batgirls, the 2022 annual is out from Becky Cloonan, Michael Conrad, and Jorge Corona. Detective Comics annual is out as well right now. So if you are looking for a place to jump in on Rampy's Detective, this is a great place to do that. Captain America, Symbol of Truth, issue 7. This is the Sam Wilson Captain America story. Sentinel of Truth is the Steve Rogers that is also going on at the same time. Catwoman versus Punchline. This is Catwoman issue 49. If you're reading the Punchline story, you know that she's going after all of Catwoman's territory right now, and Catwoman is not going to have it. And I love it because in the Punchline story, Batman was like trying to fight Punchline. He's like, look, if you're not afraid of me, that's fine, but just know that if it's not me that you're afraid of, you're going to have to fight Catwoman, and that's much worse. And I was like, I love that Batman's like, look, I may not be scary, but my wife is. And I love that he kind of just throws it in there. Planet Hulk, World Breaker, Scar is back and is running around in the Planet Hulk world doing Planet Hulk things. Nightwing also had his annual this week. This is 2022 Nightwing annual for Tom Taylor's big run on Nightwing that everybody loves. King Spawn issue 17 is back. We are about to get a lot of Spawn. Just in case you didn't know, Batman vs. Spawn is getting a new title. We had one about 30 years ago. We're about to have a new crossover with Batman and Spawn in honor of the 30th anniversary of Spawn. That also means that every Image title out there at all, period, end of story. If it's from Image, it has a Spawn cover. But guess what? So does every DC title. So if you are a Spawn fan, this is the greatest moment of your life because 2 entire publishing companies are going to have Spawn covers for every title, plus a Batman vs. Spawn book coming out. So now is your time, Spawn fans. Celebrate. Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 17 is out. I love these 90s homage variants that has a 1990 Jonathan Kent on it. We also had last week Action 1049, which has the Superman homage to the 90s where he's back in the 90s we'd get all the covers where his mullet was blowing in the wind, and I love that this shows that the mullet was actually being blown by a blow dryer. DC is doing a great thing where they're doing a lot of really cool 90s homages, and then they're doing a lot of like, hey, let's just make fun of all the ridiculous covers we had in the 90s, and I really appreciate DC being honest with who they were. The other book out this week, Strange Academy's Finals, issue 2. Scotty Young is wrapping up his time on Strange Academy. Whether or not it'll keep going without him is another story, but this is, we are doing the finals. This is going to be towards the end of the Strange Academy run. Star Wars Darth Vader, issue 29. This story continues to blow your minds and keep going, and it's just going to keep getting better and better. Exterminators, issue 3 from Marvel Comics. This is a bunch of the female X-Men go for a night out, and it doesn't go the way they want it to. Blue Beetle Graduation Day, issue 1. James Gunn just posted that the Blue Beetle from DC is still coming out. So 2023, we are still going to get that Blue Beetle movie. If you want to learn about Blue Beetle, this is a great jumping in point because this is issue 1 of a 6-part series. I recommend it. I know that we've had a lot of people coming in this week asking for this book. Jump in on your Blue Beetle. Now's the time because there is going to be a Blue Beetle movie very, very soon. Justice Society of America, The New Golden Age from Jeff Johns. This is the issue 1 of that. If you missed the one-shot that just came out about the Justice Society, we do have copies still that'll kind of lead you into what Jeff Johns is doing. Wildstorm is celebrating its 30th anniversary. If you want to jump in on this 30th anniversary series of Wildstorm, there's all kinds of cool covers. There's J. Scott Campbell covers, and each character is kind of getting their own moment in that. Philadelphia, issue 25. This series is still going. It's still fantastic. You need to be reading, and if you're not, check it out. Honestly, 25 issues in, you're going to have to try some trades, and I think we have them. The Army of Darkness versus Reanimator, Necronomicon Rising. This is just, I ordered this because it's just ridiculous that that's a thing that we're doing. And I love it because everybody loves Army of Darkness. And then from Scout Comics, we have Locust, Ballad of Men, issue 4. This is issue 4, volume 2. If you didn't read volume 1, we have all of it. But it's like, what if an apocalypse, instead of turning people into zombies or things like that, turned them all into giant locusts? It's crazy. It's Scout. You know it's good. And then last week, right before Thanksgiving, was Local Comic Shop Day. We didn't have a live stream last week, which is why you're still listening to me talk right now. because it was Thanksgiving weekend and my parents had drove all the way from San Antonio, Texas to here, which is like a 19-hour drive, which is super cool of them to come and do. So thank you. Also, my mom's birthday was yesterday, so happy birthday, Mom. And if we're giving birthday shout outs, Megan Hutchison also had her birthday yesterday, and you know she's one of my favorites in the comic book industry, as well as the amazing Lisa at Awesome Books and Comics. All of you awesome people, stop by Awesome Books and Comics sometime soon and tell Lisa happy birthday and that you love her because she's wonderful. But last Wednesday was actually local comic shop day. The day before Thanksgiving has become local comic shop day. It's a day to just celebrate your comic shop and tell them that you love them. And in return, the comic industry makes special variants just in honor of that day. So here's your local comic shop day variants from this year. There was a Grimm #1 foil. This is the 5th printing of Grimm #1. Which is crazy, and I love it. I'm so excited to see that. Congratulations, Stephanie Phillips. I know you're in Tampa. If you ever want to come sign down here, I'm here for you. I love you. You're my favorite. Come on down. I'm just going to keep saying that on every live stream until you do, because I love you. We also had, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, had a special Virgin variant, which is super cool. That's that issue 1. We have Spider-Man issue 2 with this dope Miles variant, and this might be my last one. So if you didn't get it, you might want to act fast. Jay and Silent Bob, the Quick Stops, Kevin Smith, Secret Stash Comics. This is the Comic-Con badge exclusive local comic shop day cover of issue 1. The Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo from Mark Silvestri. This is like a spot foil. Weird, like crazy awesome. Is it fully foil? No, it's like acetate. It's not acetate, but it's like spot foil, but like also super glossy. It's magical. There's also an amazing Spider-Man 13 local comic shop day variant with Spider-Man like fist bumping a guy in a cab. My favorite thing about Spider-Man is when he partners up with New York City. It always makes you cry in the movie. If you've seen the Andrew Garfield one, every time they line up the cranes, I cry like a stupid baby. We're going to talk politics and talk about the fact that Andrew Garfield is still my favorite Spider-Man. So if let me know who your favorite Spider-Man is in the comments. But if you trash Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, we're going to have a problem. Issue 50 of The Walking Dead Deluxe, which is the color reprints of The Walking Dead, got a full foil cover for local comic shop day, which is super cool. For you Invincible fans, they're doing an Invincible Undeluxe series coming out, which is going to be reprinting Invincible in black and white. So Kirkman did Walking Dead Deluxe, reprinting the black and white Walking Dead in color. We're going to get an Invincible Undeluxe, which is going to print color issues of Invincible in black and white. Kind of cool. And then the other local comic shop day exclusive variant was this gatefold. I'm going to take it out. Gatefold, amazing Behold Behemoth cover. It's gatefold, so give me a second. Because that means it wraps in 3 spots. So this is phenomenal. Also a great series. It's written by Tate Bromble, who was doing House of Slaughter. And this is a pick of the week when it came out for this issue 1. And you definitely want to get this incredibly cool gatefold cover. It's a $10 variant, but it's worth it because that is dope as hell. Those are your local comic shop day exclusives. There was also an exclusive cover of the I Hate This Place trade paperback, which has its alternate names. So, get that while you can. We also had some trades in stock over the last couple of weeks. One is the Marvel Fortnite Zero War. I was going to get that wrong. Marvel Fortnite Zero War. This actually does say... I'm not going to get this wrong. It does say it includes all 6 of the codes, which when the DC trade came out, it didn't include the codes. But Marvel Second Prints didn't include the codes, but the trade paperback does. This does include the entire thing, as well as the Thor story that Donnie and Greg Land did that was only in Fortnite. So this is going to collect all of that together. Twig, Scotty Young's Twig came out. This is the entirety of issues 1 through 5. We are maybe possibly getting more Twig in the future. I know it did say like possibly more, but this is all we for sure have. I love it. I want to hug Twig. Where's my Twig plushie? I'm gonna keep saying that. My Twig plushie and my Kanto plushie that don't exist are gonna hold hands and be best friends forever whenever they finally exist. I love that story so much. From AWA, we have a new trade of Climate Crisis Chronicles. These are true stories from heroes on the most urgent issue of our age, which is climate control. This is a lot of like actual scientists and people working on climate control. And it does have a forward from Al Roker. They did a trade like this of stories that was of their COVID chronicles. They actually run these digitally from AWA, runs these digitally on their website over time, and then they collect them. This has 10 stories in it, and it's an AWA trade, so it's only $9.99, and you're going to get 10 stories from international heroes who are working to solve the climate crisis in the world. It's really, really good. Awesome. Cowboy Bebop trade came out. And honestly, the coolest part of this is that it has the Lamar Mathurin art. We love Lamar. For you people in the Bradenton, Sarasota area, Lamar is actually a alumni of Ringling, the Ringling College of Art, which is super cool. And for you Austinites, Lamar is an Austinite. And you probably met Lamar at our small press events that we had over the course of time at the Austin location of Bat City back when we were there. This is a 4-part series that connects to the show that came out, and Lamar did an incredible job of art. The story was really, as I know all the people that read it that were huge Cowboy Bebop fans loved it. That was well. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk. But it's gorgeous. You should check it out. And then lastly, in stock, we have the Blue Beetle Jaime Reyes. This is collects all 1 through 12 of the Jaime Reyes story, which again, you need if you're jumping in. You might want if you're jumping in on this new Blue Beetle series that's coming out, but you're definitely going to want it if you're getting excited for the movie that they're talking about at DC, which is cool because we haven't had anything announced since James Gunn and the other people took over. I'm wondering if they'll also bring back the Batgirl movie because they brought back this Blue Beetle movie, so I'm wondering if they're going to bring back the Batgirl movie since it was also mostly done. Who knows? I am just talking right now. I have no idea what they're doing, but I really want to find out. I can't wait for them to actually like announce a phase or something. Like, you brought in these people, let's announce some things. Let's see what's happening. Yes, new Ronin story hype. Nicholas says totally. I know we're all freaking out about Last Ronin having another story. Yes, Ram, I see you like it too, and Blue Beetle. Yes, we're seeing Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland. Nick says he brings a young and mature heart of gold energy. That's 110% Spider-Man. I definitely feel like Tom Holland is that like high school Spider-Man. I think he does a really good job with that, and he's perfect for the Gen Z people to have their Spider-Man. All right, that's literally all of the books. I'm not even tell you what comes out this week because I told you about everything for the last 2 weeks, so we're not going to go through the whole next 2 weeks, but I am going to tell you about what's happening at Bat City once again. This Saturday, December 10th, we are going to have Jonathan Hedrick and Francesca Fantini out signing books. Jonathan is the creator of The Recount, as well as Caffeinated Hearts, Space Cadet, Hyperaware, and a bunch of other books that I absolutely love. Francesca is the artist on Stake, as well as Artemis and the Assassin. And if you go back and watch like years ago of this live stream, you're going to hear me talking about how much I love Artemis and the Assassin. Great story. They're both going to be here from noon to 5 on Saturday. They'll have the special variants and exclusive things that they are just bringing with them that you're definitely going to want to check out. They're going to be signing. It's going to be fantastic. There's going to be other goodies and stuff around the store throughout the day that you can check out. So come out this Saturday, December 10th from 12 to 5 and meet them. You're not going to regret it. Ask them about their cats. Cat people especially. They love their cats. Ask them about their cats. And then December 15th, we are going to have, as usual, our monthly Geek Girls Night. Come nerd out about whatever it is you like from 7 to 9. It is a Thursday night. There'll be some wine, there'll be some coffee, there'll be some tea, whatever kind of stuff you want to drink. We'll have all kinds of goodies. And then Saturday, December 17th is our comic creation workshops. They happen every third Saturday of the month, one at 11:30 and one at 3 p.m. All ages welcome. Come hang out. And then Sunday, December 18th, we are going to have our Stanley the Snowman Day. I'm so excited. I just want to hug Snowman. Austin Janowski is going to be out to sign copies of Stanley the Snowman. We'll have single issues and the trade paperback for you to pick up. We're also going to be doing snowman crafts, so come enjoy a not so cold winter day at Bat City on December 18th. He'll be here from 1 to 5 signing copies. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're not going to want to miss it. It's a great list of things going on at Bat City. Don't forget to come buy your copy of Mysterium, the comic, before you play the game, the board game that you're going to buy at Mysterium, the Escape Room, which you can check out in Sarasota, right across from the Hollywood Theater, right on the downtown strip. If you take your receipt from Bat City any Monday through Thursday, they're going to give you 20% off. Bring your receipt from Mysterium to Bat City any day of the week and save 10% off on your comic purchase. And you're going to have fun playing escape room games. I don't know what else you need. We've got a lot of stuff always going on. Make sure you come check it out. This is a huge week of comics, which is why I'm also not going through it right now. This last week was like the small week. You can't tell because I went through 2 weeks at the same time. But this week alone is going to be, the first week of the month is always a huge week. It's going to be crazy. There's a lot of new books coming out. I'm super excited for it. You're going to hear all about them next Sunday night at 9 p.m. right here on Facebook, or next week on our YouTube channel at Bad City Comps. If you are on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get all the notifications for when the next video comes up. And thank you for watching live with us if you're on Facebook. See you next weekend, and if not, I'll see you Wednesday in the store for New Comic Book Day. Bye!